All right, good evening. Want to officially call to order the August 14, 2023 Oxford Town Council meeting to order. All members of the town council are physically present. Please join me in standing with the flag. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Council approval of the agenda. Any changes to the agenda?
Mayor, I would like to make 3 motions for striking items. The first one is 4J2 and 4J3 under the tree commission. It's my understanding that these were placed on the agenda without any consultation or as a surprise for the tree commission. And I believe that's inappropriate. And I would move to strike those 2, 4J2 and 4J3.
Is there a second on the striking?
Second.
Question on whether to strike. George, then Roberta.
I'd like to keep the 2 of them in there. I know of no legal impediment. If that's what Chris is talking about. And there have been issues now for a couple of months that need to be brought up.
Okay. Roberta.
I'm the one who put, I believe, both of those on the agenda, and I'd like them to stand. I have some great information to relay in regards to item number J3. And J2, we really need to hear from the tree commission. They are here tonight, I believe. One representative is here tonight. I don't see the president of the tree commission. But I think it's basically to open up dialogue with the tree commission and find out some information from them and have them report back to us. So that's really what we do.
Thank you. Any other discussion?
Yeah, I'd just like to know, were the members of the tree commission invited to this by?
No, not by me, but on the ordinance. So I'm sorry.
Were they invited to this meeting?
I would assume they got the agenda and they saw the agenda item.
But you did not reach
I
out to them?
personally did not. No, I'm sorry.
Any other discussion?
Yeah, I have no issues with these items being discussed. I have a real issue with them being a surprise for the tree commission.
Okay. Any other discussion? All right, we have a motion. We have a second. We've gone through discussion on whether to strike 4J2, 3. All in favor of the motion to strike, raise your hand. Opposed? Will remain on the agenda. Any other changes?
Yeah, my second one was 4K. Gotta put on my glasses for my checking strike. 4K4 under ORC. This item was not on the agenda for the ORC meeting, which I'm a part of. And it was not discussed other than a very brief mention as something that we might want to look at in the future. And particularly since if I'm understanding it correctly, it would involve some pretty major changes for the planning commission. I think it's inappropriate to have it on the agenda tonight. So I move to strike 4K4.
We're a second, strike 4K4.
Second.
We have a second from Storm. Discussion to strike 4K4. Roberta.
Yes, in fact, that was one of my agenda item changes that I was going to make because it is in the wrong place. It should be that agenda item. I was going to ask for that agenda item to be moved up to under the planning commission H and replaced as 4H IV or H4 So it is in the wrong place. It was an agenda item that was put on, requested. But I think it just got in the wrong place when the agenda was formatted. So I would like that to stay on the agenda and just be relocated to the proper place under the planning commission. It's not intended to be discussed under the open space.
To me, the same issue would be valid, but this was not discussed with the planning commission. And I think that's where some major discussion needs to start.
Was it discussed, Roberta?
I don't believe I brought this motion,
Okay.
I brought this agenda item.
George?
This is similarly, was up for the agenda in the July meeting. We're now postponed to August. Let's get it in discussion before the council and decide whether we want to take what action or any action. But I'd like us to have that option here.
Other discussion, so.
We need to hear first.
Oh, okay, no, go ahead. My question was the same as what the mayor asked, but you think that.
I feel it is both against the rules and the spirits to include this item.
Other discussion. Hearing none, all those in favor of striking 4K, raise your hand. Opposed? Carries.
My last motion is on item 5A. Request for status update regarding Woodpecker Woods Trail. I was surprised to find this, given that I'm one of the organizers and one of the people who have been working on Woodpecker Woods Trail. No one has talked to anyone on the trail and Town and Trail Alliance about it. It also is not a town project. Now I did talk with Kevin Oxenrider, who is the DNR. DNR, by the way, owns the land. It's their project. And I did speak with him today, and he said he would be glad to come to the September town council meeting to address us. He expressed interest in attending my Zoom, but so I think it's appropriate to talk about it with due invitations and due awareness of the people who are involved in this project. So I would like to I'm certainly open to having it on next month's agenda. I would like to move to strike it from this agenda.
The second to strike. You have the second to strike?
Second.
We have a discussion on striking. Roberta?
Yes, I'm the one who requested the agenda item, and I requested this agenda item in no harm to the people involved in doing this. I received a packet of information from a constituent, and I am bringing that packet forward as my responsibility to bring the information forward and create transparency. So I'm bringing the information forward to the members of the town council because I received information from a constituent. That constituent is here tonight, and they want to speak in regards to the information that they sent me. And in no way is it to say what we're going to do about Woodpecker Woods. It was basically to ask the status, because we had this on the agenda 2 months ago, or the town council had it on the agenda 2 months ago, where Woodpecker Woods was going to ask for some funds that was postponed until things were resolved. So I would like it to stay only because I have the obligation as a town council member to bring forward information that was sent to me in a packet by a constituent. That is all that is.
Thank you. Other discussion, George?
I'll be brief. Yes, we have a citizen here, a resident of the town who wants to speak to this matter. I'd like to point out, we also have a second person who wants to speak to this matter who is here today. And to speak briefly. Also, this is not a request, discussion and action. This is merely bringing information forward, and any other individuals can certainly come in September and bring a full discussion to this.
Okay, thank you. Other discussion, Zach?
Just a clarification, is this related to the agenda item that was on the town council 2 months ago, before this council? It did appear, and I think it was pushed off.
Yeah.
Was that related to Trail in Town, or is that
Trembling Town had a proposal to build has a proposal to do the Ridge Street connector that is unrelated to this. What this is a project of a state agency who owns land in Harpers Ferry, Bolivar, and the county. And essentially, I think my fellow council members have invited members of the public to complain about someone else's property, the project going on someone else's property. It is not a town project. The town has donated some funding, mainly for gravel on a derelict parking lot. So I see this as kind of an equivalency of inviting a member of a citizen, a resident of Harpers Ferry to come and complain about their neighbor at the town council meeting. I think it may be totally appropriate when DNR is here and has a chance to talk about it. And Freeland Town, the people doing the work.
Other discussion. All right, let's move on.
That is why this needs to be on the agenda, so we can set that up. So I had, so we're gonna vote on this one, is that correct?
Any other discussion? All right, close the discussion. All those in favor of striking agenda item number 5A? Right, vote for 4. Yeah, which is fine. All right.
So you're gonna ask for the, sorry, you're gonna ask for the item to stand on the agenda, you haven't asked.
Yeah.
You don't need to stand on it, you don't need to take a vote. All right, thank you. I have,
Firstly, no doubt.
a couple of agenda items.
Okay, make it real quick.
Okay, yes, I want item 5A, agenda item 5A to be moved up to after agenda item 2B. One, because the residents are here, we'd like to get them home before it's too dark. And then I also request that agenda item 4K be moved up to H. Sorry, agenda item 4H4.
I also have an agenda.
Whoa. We have no 4H4.
Okay, sorry, we'll go back. So you've got the 5A, you understand where I want 5A up front, so I can send that person home and then I'll be on in the dark. So I'd like agenda item 4K4 to be moved up to 4H4.
Below 4H3.
Correct, under the planning commission where it needs to say. Deep stuff.
Yeah, for the same reason, immediately after that, I would like to move 4K6, discussion and action regarding code review of Article 735, special event permit. To be after that, because we have some folks whose work is impacted by that and who are here with their children.
But point of order, are you allowed to join on to that motion?
And we're gonna take it one at a time. Let me run this over here for right now, and then I'll turn it over to anybody else who wants to try it. So here we go. Roberta, let's do one at a time,
Sure.
all right? So go ahead and make a motion, Roberta, just find first, one of them first.
So I'd like to make a motion that agenda item 5A be relocated and inserted after agenda item 2B.
Do we have a second on the motion? Second from George, discussion on the motion. Hearing none, all those in favor of the motion,
Can
Nancy?
you confirm, was this submitted as a member, as the work chair to the agenda, or was it submitted as planning committee? to the agenda. Oh, sorry, wrong one. That's the second one. Never mind. We're all good.
And
This one's in the clear.
I'd like,
We have a motion on the floor, we have a second, and I close discussion, all those in favor of the motion, raise your hand. All right, so now, 5A goes following 2B, somebody's got to keep me up to date on this as we move along. All right, go ahead with another one, Roberta.
I'd like to make a motion that agenda item 4K4 be repositioned on the agenda under 4H. Sorry, under 4H, after 4H3, so it becomes agenda item 4H4.
You are taxing.
I have it in red here, sir. I'll help you keep track.
So
4A, 4 will follow 4H3,
Correct.
correct? All right, Jackie, you gotta keep me up to date, all right? We have a second on that motion.
Second.
We have a second from George. Discussion on that motion. Nina.
So this was requested by George and Roberta. George is not a member of planning commission, so my concern is just that if it's being requested by people who are not on planning to add things to the planning agenda. And also, from my understanding, this was not brought before planning to then vote on to then request that these items be added to planning, and this request is not made by the chair of planning. That's my only concern, because I think the process should be something goes before a committee or commission, they vote on it, and then it's presented by the chair to the agenda, That person does not need to be present. We can send any representative to represent that item. But I think that should be the process, that we are volunteer committees and commissions, and we shouldn't be instructing them to double their workload. We should come to us to request to double their workload, and then we can consider that.
Okay, other discussion, Roberta.
Yes, I believe we already voted that it stays on the agenda, and so that negates that, and then the reason I'm moving it, because it is something that is part of the planning commission. It doesn't go under my request as the ordinance review committee. So I'm a member of the planning commission, okay? And so if my name is on that agenda item request, then it is proper for it to be under the planning commission.
Okay, what else? Any other discussion? All those in favor of moving it, whatever we're moving to where it's moving to. Raise your hand.
In favor?
In favor of. Opposed. Fails.
Okay.
Staying where it is, I think.
Now,
Now.
I would move, would like to move 4K6 to after 5A, which is now after 2.
Oh,
Oh, this is so much fun.
Say one more time.
Simon says.
yeah.
I'm doing 4K6. To the new position of 5A, which follows 2B.
We technically want it after 5A. The new position is 5A.
Yes.
Where's the final going to end up at?
Right before 3.
Yes, so if 2 had A, B, C, and D, it would be 2. If it does not.
I got it. I know where it's going.
Yeah, I've got it.
He wants to move,
4K.
this discussion, for K6. We'll get moving here. We inserted this C already, so there's a B. Yeah.
All right, any other discussion? Do we have a second on that? Storm? movement.
I'll second.
All right, discussion on. You all.
Is there a reason?
Yes, there are participants in the discussion who are here with their small children.
Okay. Any other discussion? All those in favor of the movement, raise your hand. All right.
I have one more comment. I forgot to add it on my.
Make it easy.
Okay.
Real quick.
Yes.
Sorry, we gotta move on.
Yes, the request was for discussion and action, and I need to add the action part of it, and it's very imperative we add the action part of it, because there's issues that I'm gonna present.
Of what?
Now,
The request was for discussion and action, if you want to see the
What
original request. That I printed out, it did say discussion and action on it.
Which item are we?
Which I,
It was 5A, the Woodpecker Woods, and it's. The action I need is DNR is gonna be here tomorrow, and I wanted 2 other members to accompany me on town council to Woodpecker Woods to meet with them. Okay, not that we're gonna make any decisions out there, we're just gonna be there with them, and I needed that action to take place tonight.
is action on the agenda,
If,
on the
I
agenda.
know, but it was on request,
It's on the agenda, that was posted publicly per the open meeting.
Okay.
so anytime that happens,
I need to pay attention to things come up, Roberta,
Right.
after. Okay.
sorry, right, too bad,
All right.
always like my, motion.
Thank you very much.
I will accept the agenda as amended.
Yeah. Discussion on it. To approve the agenda as amended. All those in favor, approve as amended. All right. Now, yeah, you have the floor.
Yeah, so public comments. The first one on the list is Christian Petronic. And your 3 months is right now.
Here we go. I am Richard Petronis, resident at 900 Fillmore Street. I'm addressing agenda item 4K4. We'll talk about this in a few minutes. Discussion action regarding reorganization, parking committee and ad hoc committees and working groups under the planning commission. I do have a bachelor's degree in business administration, master's in organizational management, and 4 years of relevant municipal service on town council, 5 years in historic landmarks, 1 year in planning, 3 years as the chair of budget and finance, and 3 years as chair of the parking committee. I think it's fair to say I have a good background in how our municipality operates. No town council member has conferred with me regarding this procedure as the chair. The parking committee is tasked with creating, managing, and executing the parking policies of the town. This committee has always reported to the mayor and has always worked directly with the police chief and police clerk. It was set up that way by the committee's founding members, Barbara Humes and Marty Johnson, who recruited me for this committee. In my research on the West Virginia Code pertaining to section 10-1-8-10-1, powers and duties of the mayor, I've noted a couple of pertinent sections. The mayor of every municipality shall be the chief executive officer of such municipality, shall have the powers and authority granted in this section, and shall see that the ordinances, orders, bylaws, acts, resolutions, rules, and regulations of the governing body therefore are faithfully executed. And also he shall have control of the police of the municipality. Due to the parking enforcement with the police department, the parking committee belongs with the mayor's office. The ordinance review committee could add this responsibility to the town article 121 mayor. And another suggestion would be to add a town council liaison to the committee. This small committee is one of the most successful stories of our town. If you examine the 2022-2023 fiscal general budget in your packet. Regarding the ad hoc committees addressed in the agenda item, I've served in most of them and others not listed here. All of these committee address very specific issues or problems facing the town and have been created by the mayor to help the governance of the town. The staff in the town are included in all these committees at some level, as the mayor and his staff are tasked with running the day-to-day operations of the town. They need these committees to make this place run smoothly and efficiently.
30
These-
seconds.
How many?
30.
These committees provide the information needed for the mayor's office to make decisions. Placing them under the planning commission will slow down the decision-making and implementation process. I strongly suggest staying the course with what has worked well for Harpers Ferry for many decades. Thank you.
Thank you, Christian. Next.
Barbara Hughes.
Well, I'm going to speak to 4J3, discussion and action regarding invasive species removal. And actually, I just wanted to mention a pet peeve of mine, which is the ivy that's growing and engulfing the trees right out in front of our door, our lower door. And for years, I have been begging and putting in requests, and nothing has ever happened about getting that ivy ripped up and removed before it takes over. Well, it's taking over now. So I don't know what if the outcome to be the outcome of this item on the agenda, but if there's anything specific about the work to be done, I would say let's start at our own front door.
Barbara, I had a little trouble hearing you. You're concerned about the ivy where now?
Right out in front of the lower door that's wrapping around the trees that are at the exit,
Oh.
the street exit.
Out here on this end or on the front of the building? Badford Parish, right out that way. Okay, thanks.
Thank you. Thank you, Barbara.
Thank you. All right.
Wayne Bishop.
You usually rattle off the ones I'm gonna do, but I'll do it. It's, I'll be brief, it's 4E4, 4F1, 5A, 6C, and 6D, and I'll be brief, I'll set a new record here. I'm volunteering to chair the Water Commission on an interim basis. And I'm happy to do that until we can find an appropriate leader for that commission. I'm volunteering to serve on the Parks and Rec Commission. I was the chair of that also previously. And Woodpecker Woods, the urban deer hunt management group met last night, and there was much discussion about that. So if you're going to be meeting with them, just remind them not to tag or get into any of our deer stands that are on public property, because that's a violation of the 505.07 interference with hunters. We have a ordinance that's been in place for the urban deer hunting for going on 12 years. So I'm happy to leave you with this. And 6C, I had asked that East Ridge Street be resurfaced. It's fractured and in a lot of places, and there's potholes in a lot of places, and it's just town business to surface streets when they need it. It's good business. And also the 6D was needing clear guidance for the hikers and bikers at Potomac Street Extended. I turned in an agenda item there that kind of showed that the chain across the street is confusing to people that want to gain access to that trail. And that's it.
Thank you, Wayne. So can I ask just one?
Sure.
So there are deer stands in Woodpecker Woods now, is that correct?
No, what I'm saying is last year we had some issues where deer stands were clearly in town right-of-way property, like on a paper street, Van Wert, that type of thing. And they were tagged to remove them from Woodpecker Woods Association. And actually, I put one of those stands in with the National Park Service with GPS. Anyway, I removed it anyway because I wasn't using it. But there was other reports of people actually being up in the urban deer hunter stands. And that's like a big safety issue. You can't have that. So it's like the two can, coexist together without a problem. But you can't have interference with the hunt.
Thank you.
So, any other questions?
Will you be around for to the bitter end, to your two items? there?
Probably not.
Okay, probably not. All right, ma'am.
Carol Gallant.
Thank you. Chief gonna speak on item 5A, then item 5A comes up.
Yeah, oh, we could just wait then for 5A.
Thank you.
Tanya Goffson?
No, I'm later.
Okay, all right. Heidi Simmons?
Oh, I'm not speaking.
Okay. David Simmons? Okay.
Yeah.
Ed Love.
Yeah, I think my item also got moved on the agenda.
Okay, so we'll just wait.
But you're not speaking during that item. You have to speak now during public comments.
Okay.
Yeah, sorry. So, thank you.
Okay, so that agenda item is about the special permit. If you recall back in, I think, April, I came before the town council and presented this idea for a farmer's market in town. I have been working diligently and it's taken a lot longer than I wanted it to, but we are finally getting there. So August 30th is when we're planning to have our first market. We just got commitments from Papa's Chicken and Ribs. I apologize to all the vegetarians out there, but I contacted probably 23 trucks and that was the one we got. So they'll be in attendance. We will have looks like just a very few number of vendors to begin. A big part of the challenge is just been getting vendors to commit to a totally new market, untested, unproven. They're, careful with their time. So we'll have very few vendors, but we'll have a good mix of products, including meat, dairy, produce. The idea is that hopefully, you can get all your staples there in one go. This week, I am going to be working through the special permit with Patty, who's been helpful through the process. But so far, no snags on that end. So August 30th, mark your calendars, and I would love to see all of you and everyone else there.
What time?
It is probably going to start at 5 o'clock and run till 7:30 or so. And it's come and go as you will. You can come get your groceries and then leave if you want, or ideally get food, hang out, and spend time with people in town. So, thank you, Ed. Yeah.
And that's it.
That's it. Thank you, Mayor. Mayor, I had two community announcements that I would like to make very briefly. Just to let everyone know, this week is the beginning of the Appalachian Chamber Music Festival. And if you have not heard some of the concerts in the past, some of the top musicians in America, really, top young musicians, provide some wonderful concerts for the whole region. And I have a few cards here that you're welcome to attend. I also wanted to point out particularly two of these concerts will be here in Harpers Ferry. This Friday night at 7:30 at Campbell Methodist Church will be a concert for the tickets you can purchase online. And Sunday, the 27th, they will be giving a free concert on the Mather lawn. So believe that's at 7. Not entirely sure of that. Oh, 3 to 5, I'm sorry. And the other thing I wanted to mention tonight was that there is a watershed group, a group led by West Virginia Rivers, has been trying to reestablish the Elk Run watershed group that functioned in town. The town was involved in for several years. That is well underway, and they are organizing the first public event for that effort. It's going to be Barrels and Barbecue. It will be Sunday, September 10th, 2 to 5 p.m. at the barn in Bolivar. And they alerted me that registration is not required, pre-registration is not required, but if you register, you have the chance to take a barrel home that you can paint and create, so, anyway, that's the 27th. I'm sorry, the 10th of September.
Thank you, Chris. Okay, it's 7:34, and we're now at agenda item number 1.
Moving right along.
Yeah. All right, council, we have a long agenda, so I want short dialogue. I want your dialogue to be to the point and succinct. I don't have time, and we don't have time to go on ad nauseum. Okay, you have a point, make your point, because I'm gonna move you along, okay? Just let me know ahead. A couple announcements real quick, rock mitigation, West Virginia DOH. Virginia Department of Transportation project. The project was 90 days. We were just informed the other day, Thursday or Friday, that the project is now 100 days. And will conclude December 22nd, I want to, that's what it is. Now, I will tell you that there has been conflicting information regarding signage and barricades and everything else. I have been in contact with and have contacted with Lee Thorne, who is the district manager out of District 5. Basically sent him an email. I've yet to hear from him about the issues, and I am suggesting that a responsible representative from DOH show up here. We get a bus. We put our council on the bus. We put Bolivar's council on the bus. And any other interested officials, and we have the DOH official take us from one point to the other, saying there's going to be a barricade here, there'll be a sign there, et cetera, because I am so confused. I know that Patty and Eddie Love have attended a meeting. I'll just ask Eddie or Patty if you want to make any comment from your perspective on the meeting that both of you attended. Eddie, do you have anything other than what I just said?
One thing to note is that the barricades will begin on this side of the bridge over the Shenandoah, so you will not be able to access
That's not
Chestnut Hill Road, right? So people will be able to get there. In that meeting, we were told that people should be able to turn around there in front of the bridge, and just before you cross the bridge. So we'll see if that's possible. Anytime like
Let's
this.
get that bus.
If they don't, then the only other option would be to take Shenandoah Street. You end up in town. No one, I think, wants that, right? That's not gonna go well. So we've explained to them that that's not a great place to turn around. And that also we really don't want traffic, especially large trucks, coming through Lower Town. So, but it is what it is.
They're turning any troops to the river that they're going to tunnel under Loudon Heights instead.
Yeah. I think if we keep saving our penny.
Patty, do you have any-
Yeah, you know, this, also shared was, at the time, she thought the turnaround would be at the traffic light as you're going to Bolivar. The traffic would make that left, circle around the visitor center and go back out. But if you're going to Harper's Ferry or Bolivar, there'll be a sign and say Harper's Ferry Bolivar is still open. So that's
Okay.
one of the.
The other thing that was going around is that Shenandoah Street was going to be closed at 3:40. That is not true. Okay. Okay, that's enough for the rock mitigation. I am sorry to inform you, if you don't know this, we have lost a former resident. A wonderful person, a dear friend of mine, and I'm sure a dear friend of many of you, Barbara Osmond. Passed away in Florida. And that is Deborah Fleming's sister and Zan's sister-in-law. And memorial service is being held, I think, at St. Augustine. And I think Zan is working on a memorial service here at Camp Hill. And as soon as we get additional information regarding Barbara's passing, I'll pass it on. The only other thing I want to mention, council, is just to remind you, particularly those of you that serving on our standing committees with 3 members. Be careful that you do not violate West Virginia Code, the Ethics Act, by you have a 3-person standing committee. And the standing committee is Storm and myself and Zach. And let's say I pick up the phone and I call Zach and I say, Zach, hey, tomorrow when we meet, I'm thinking that maybe we ought to not approve agenda item number 6, and you agree to that, Zach, blah, 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 that's illegal. You cannot carry on conversations, that's illegal, it's a violation of the Ethics Act. And if I find out that it has occurred on any of our commissions and committees, I will inform the West Virginia Ethics Commission, and sanctions will probably follow. I have no inkling that anything has happened. I just want all of you to be aware, particularly when you have a small committee that you're in charge of with 3 people. It may seem very easy, and what harm it would do to pick up the phone and call your buddy on the committee. You can't do that. All right, so just want to make sure everybody understands that. And I think that's all that I have. We're going to defer number 2.
Yeah, deferring number 2 to the next month due to technical issues. So.
All right, now, help me out here. Where are we going? 5A, request for status update regarding, who submitted this agenda item?
So the next one is 5A.
Yeah.
All right, Roberta, I just want to ask what was the reason you submitted this? I mean, what are you expecting from this town council?
Okay. All right, thank you for adding this agenda, keeping this item on the agenda. I am basically entered this agenda item request to let the town council members know that I received information regarding Woodpecker Woods.
We all received the same information.
Okay, I was not aware of that. I was told that I received the packet only. And so I'm making it aware that I have read it and not sure I understand all of it, and it's a long history that is involving the property surveys, things that were done, things were not done, not really understanding. But I too reached out to the property owner, and I'll have her speak as well. But I've also reached out to Kevin Oxenrider, who I asked to try to be here tonight to help us understand what's going on. He has deferred that because he would like us to meet with him and the council. I believe there's a lawyer from the DNR that's mentioned in these letters, and they want to be present when they meet with us. So the action item I wanted tonight was for us to go ahead and put them on next agenda, but I'll put another agenda item request in, hopefully. That they have sent an email, and I'll give everybody a copy of this.
Who's they?
This is Kevin Oxenrider with DNR. He would like to meet with us in the September meeting with his council representation here. So that is what I needed.
Okay, but what do you want? What is your objective this evening?
Okay, so I need Ms. Gallant to come to the podium.
No, I want your objective. What is what do you want the town? What do you want the town to do regarding this issue that is not on town property and not our responsibility?
Okay. So it's my understanding that there's a memorandum of understanding. I have not seen that, and I need to cut a copy of it. I don't know where it's at. So I think we need to understand what that memorandum of understanding states. We need to also understand what the history of this property is and what is Harper's Ferry's obligation. Because reading some of this information, Harper's Ferry does have an obligation. Reading some of this information, there's a group that's coming to us asking for money. And also what I see is something that may not be safe. And if the town is going to have their liability, their neck stuck out for security issues, for safety issues, for someone falls and gets hurt on that trail, where does the police come from? Where does the emergency vehicle come from? How do we get to that person? And whose responsibility is it? Who's paying for that?
But
So-
Roberta, it's not on town property.
Okay, well, that's not what I understand. And so.
It's not on town.
It's not on town property.
It's not what the documents tell.
No, it's not on town.
Well, what documents are you looking at
These
that says it
documents.
is part of town property? It is within the town of Harper's Ferry, but it is owned by the West Virginia Department of Natural Resources. It is their land, it is their liability.
It is my land that was trespassed.
Already, point of order. I understand the point, may I recognize the point of order?
State your point.
Roberta has the floor to the best of my knowledge, Mr. Craig, and so I'd like if she's answering the mayor, and if she may complete her statement, then.
Point taken. Thank you, George.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Jordan.
Go ahead, Roberta.
I really am just trying to do something that a constituent has brought forward. And she feels it is maybe our obligation to find out what's the best solution, find out what's really going on, find out what the memorandum of understanding is. Because apparently it's between this town and DNR or something. And it's also my understanding that if there's anything that has to happen within the confines of the boundary and corporation of Harper's Ferry, then the information and the planning and the approval of that trail or whatever it's going to be has to come through planning commission. So that also needs to be vetted through the planning commission. So I also am looking for that to happen. And if we have no say, then please let's legally put it down that we have no say. And we go forward. But right now, everything's mixed up and
I have a different way maybe looking at this. I think there's something inappropriate about a resident reaching out with a grievance that they're having with a third party organization that's active within our city limits. And that's what this is. A resident is having an issue with a third party that is doing work that is somehow interfered with their property. And they're reaching out to town council to basically listen to their grievance and see if we can assist with them with a resolution, whether us being an intermediary within a discussion or something like that. It's not necessarily the town has a responsibility, but we have a responsibility as town council to assist town members with issues that they're having with organizations that are active within a community. I think maybe that's the way that we need to view it.
Chris.
I want to clarify the memorandum of understanding. It's a little confusing because there are two memoranda. The memorandum between DNR and the town foundation, which is the legal entity that Trail and Town Alliance is organized under, is between those two entities. DNR, a state agency, and the Historic Town Foundation. It was reviewed and drafted by the West Virginia Attorney General. And it gives responsibility to Trail and Town to develop trails. And we're also permitted to do other things, include signage with their approval to clean up the derelict parking lot on Old Furnace Road, which has been done. It still needs some improvements now. And anyway, that is really not anything to do with the town. Other than Trail and Town has requested a small amount of money for some tools, tape, that kind of thing that has been used there. There was a larger amount of money that was for gravel at the parking lot. That is how the town has been involved there. Now, there's a second memorandum of understanding that Trail and Town, or the foundation again, made with the town of Harper's Ferry that has nothing to do with Woodpecker Woods. It is set up so that we will be able to develop trails on paper streets in town. But then we must come, Trail and Town must come to the town to initiate those individual projects. That was what the Ridge Street presentation was the other night.
and that was for planning.
So that I think is some of the confusion. Two memoranda of understanding. And by the way, the one that the town made with Trail and Town is based on DNR's language. So
Okay,
Roberta, one other question, final question, maybe I can capsulize this. What relief are you proposing to give the resident? What relief can we do to give the resident?
I think right now, I think the resident is asking to be heard.
Okay, but we all know what the issue is. I've read all the documents several times. We're the decision makers here, okay? What specific relief do you want us to pursue for our resident?
I don't have an answer for that right now. I'll have to
Okay.
do some consideration.
Yeah, I think it's very important that we listen to residents' concerns. That's one of the chief reasons we are here. I also believe that, of course, we can bring anything before town council that we choose. I would say that we should, as we move along, give equal deference to concerns and not be selective about them. So we are going to have a council where we bring things forward without a specific purpose, that we need to bear in mind that it needs to be done with equal deference.
And I believe I did that. I've received this packet unbeknownst to me that already received it because it was addressed to me. Okay, and I was told I was the only one that got it, other than maybe another town council member for planning. So, and then, I'm just doing what I thought was best to bring this forward so that everybody knows what's going on. And we meet on it periodically, and we come to some compromise, some good solutions, some where everybody's happy and there's no.
Nobody's criticizing you, Roberta, for bringing something forward. What I'm struggling with is I want to make the resident whole. So I want to look for something. I mean, maybe I looked at the pictures and there are clearly issues on the resident's property. Maybe we can get a volunteer group to go out and make that area whole. I don't know, but I think that we ought to come up with something. Because it is a resident and it's a long time resident that's been in Harper's Ferry a long time, okay? But I need to know what to do and what we can do, and then let's just do it. Let's, again, like I said earlier, at 5 o'clock, let's not make this overly complicated.
I would like to hear from the resident, and if I give her 3 minutes, then give her 3 minutes.
So right on this email, it looks like, well, I think Monday, September 12th, I think is the date. So if we could get, it looks like a member of the DNR is attending the meeting in September. Could we get a member of Town and Trail Alliance to also attend in September? And then if we can also have the resident attend in September, then we can hear from all sides of the perspective. And it looks like there's a meeting ahead of time, Woodpecker Woods tomorrow with DNR, so that DNR can kind of get a better understanding as to what the issue is. And I think if we can have this meeting with everyone with all their kind of ducks in a row in September, I think we would have a really good result.
George?
And I think we're ready to step forward. It's most appropriate to ask to speak.
I'm just gonna get to that. Okay. Any other, before I get to that, Chris?
Yeah, I. A little awkward here, but to my knowledge. The last contact the resident had with the town was through her lawyer. I think there are some legal implications there too. I didn't go there in my initial motion to strike. But there have been accusations of trespass. There have been, it came through the lawyer. Okay, so this may be a little bit more than just hearing a complaint from someone.
Okay. Let me ask the resident to step forward if you choose to, and Carol, you got 3 minutes.
Well, I wrote this for 5, and I have any indulgences.
3 minutes.
Okay. This is a state, I thank you for hearing, all of you, and I thank you for your hard work. This is a state project, only because people from this community went there and asked us to be a state project. I don't think there's any malice in it. Somebody thought, oh, what a great idea, let's enhance all the trails in Woodpecker Woods. But it was, there was misstatements made to DNR, which I can prove, about the bad problems in the woods, and there was an erroneous interpretation of Brad Nash's wishes. I've lived here since 1972. I knew Brad Nash well, knew Jenny well, knew Ruth well. These are people who knew about the world. She was a foreign correspondent, landed at Normandy with Eisenhower. He was in the Roosevelt, Eisenhower administration in Hoover. These people viewed Harper's theory as important as it is to me, which is the environment and which is and the beauty. It's not to be exploited, not to be used, it's to be respected. And that's why he gave land to DNR, because he loved having the Boy Scouts visit and camp out. And it's funny to see a city boy like Brad trying to roast a marshmallow. He wanted to make sure those woods were open for the people to enjoy. He did not. This is 1988. This did not have anything to do with enhancing these natural deer trails, which had been used for years by locals and visitors for hiking. These are trails, they don't require leveling, stairs, bridges, weed whacking, sweeping or widening. That's what's been happening. That is not natural. It impacts the environment and wildlife. And this is not in keeping with Brad's wishes. Those memorandums of understanding somehow occurred. So let me talk about process. I spent most of my life and career in government, legislating. There are laws, there's proper procedure. And in this instance, they were not fully complied with, much less public comment. We live by these woods, we live by these trails. And as I said, they have been used for hikers, they have been used for wildlife habitat, and they've been used for peace and quiet. And they exist without any need for enhancement. If you have public lands, you need approval and a detailed plan. You don't willy-nilly pull a weed, not that one. You don't pull a weed or a sapling because it's in the way of a hiker. What you needed, if you were going to do this, was a professional naturalist. You also needed an historic landscape architect. Now, that's what you've been working on.
30 seconds.
And there's also, the environmental protection law is triggered. Now, I don't know why DNR did not do further investigation. The Park Service could have supplied through the National Capital Region a landscape architect. They turned it over to a trails group. And that started here. It keeps being called a state project. I don't know why the Alliance, as good as they are, as capable as they are, have the leeway to proceed with all this alteration of trails, including my 2 acres, which was bought to protect it from intrusion.
3 minutes.
The whole thing needs to be stopped. Get a Park Service ranger to supervise following the naturalists. If you want to do something with these woods, we owe it. Brad, we owe it to this town.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, yeah, that's,
Carol, you want to think?
I do, and Carol Carter will be entering, I didn't bring her letter, another long time resident.
That's lost all of you.
let's pursue what you were suggesting, Harold.
I think that's the best way.
All right.
And also, maybe if anyone wants to arrange, if one from council wants to be in attendance at the meeting tomorrow, we just. One or two,
Can't quorum.
yeah, but if one person wants to volunteer or another person wants to be there.
There can be a quorum. However, you have to be careful not to deliberate.
All right, so Jack is gonna tell me where we're at. We were at 2D. 2D. Yes.
4K6.
But it's not my item. All right, I have to have it.
Yeah, that's my item.
Yes.
Okay, ready?
Go ahead. Just yours, Roberta.
Yes. Okay, this item was put on the agenda by the ordinance, by a request from the ordinance review committee. And basically, it is discussions, the ORC recommends the town council request ORC and Parks Recreation Committee form a joint working group to review current code article number 735, section 735.39, and develop immediate policy and procedures to meet the immediate need of special events proposed for this year. with the anticipation that the policy and procedure methodology will assist with current need. However, working group will present to ORC more detailed evaluations needed to amend the code as necessary. So what that means, we have immediate needs, we have a farmer's market that's coming through. ORC reviewed the current code section, and we did not have a lot of definitions defined. We did not have a lot of procedures defined. So basically, the farmer's market is spinning with our Parks and Rec committee, wanting to know what they need to get done, and what needs to happen, and how they need to communicate with the town on how things are going to be accomplished. So the ordinance review committee feels that this article 735, section 735.39 needs to have some updates. It was discussed in ORC, and Chris has volunteered maybe to work with Parks and Rec to form this working group and make that happen for the farmers. Now, I thought we had more time than 30 days, but
Okay,
I don't know.
all right, so what are you're asking just to meet with the Parks and Rec, correct?
Okay, so I have a motion. Okay.
Before you get to a motion,
Yes.
let me just ask,
Mhm.
you are just asking for the ORC to meet with Parks and Rec, correct?
Correct, if I'm
Okay.
form a joint committee.
Why do you need town council authorization to do that?
Okay, it's my understanding that the ORC is a standing committee and advisory committee only. We cannot make our own decisions. What we have to do in order to change code or maybe review code or implement a code change is to ask permission of the governing body. The governing body directs the ORC to do something.
You are an advisory body to the town council, which means that you have no authority to direct the town council. That doesn't mean that you cannot go directly to another entity of the town, for example, Parks and Rec Commission, and get on their agenda and just discuss it with the Parks and Rec. Why, I'm confused as to why we're taking up this item on the town council agenda, which I don't think possibly should have gone to the town council. Chris and then Storm.
If I may, this was based upon a motion I made, but I feel that the motion really does not reflect my motion at ORC. It started with a discussion about Parks and Rec's possible needs for changes of town ordinances to adequately address the needs of the farm market and other special events in town. I observed there's no way that we were going to get through ordinance revisions and first and second readings to help with farm market that's going to happen August 30th. That's news for me.
We're in October.
So I suggested that if Patty and the Parks and Rec committee needed some help setting policy, that we suggest tonight that a standing committee might be made. I volunteered to be on that, so I guess I would like to hear from Parks and Rec if that would be helpful at this point. Are there needs for the farm market and maybe things down the line?
We're good. Eddie and I have been working on this together for
Yeah.
quite a while. As a matter of fact, if you recall, when the Appalachian Chamber Music did their special event, they actually went through the process with me. And we did learn some nuances that we need to tweak. I think it was a year or so ago, I approached the town council with adding the special event ordinance. And I went to ORC, bringing Charlestown information. I mean, pretty much mirrored that. But now we're seeing that there could be some potential, for the right words, but some potential better language that we could add. Does it need a first and second reading? We have to take a look at that. If it's not a substantial change, it's my understanding that we can make those changes. And when I did speak with Roberta several weeks ago about it, they didn't seem to be substantial changes to me. It's a good idea. Maybe we should make that a little more clear. So Parks and Rec will be happy to meet and review this. Now, There's one thing to have an ordinance, and then there's a thing to have a procedure. And we are kind of testing the waters. Eddie and I are doing the first one, and we're kind of doing a hybrid. And then the Appalachian Trail, the Appalachian Chamber Music came up, and that sailed through very quickly. So we'll be happy to sit down and see if we can iron out and make it better. And always opportunities to learn new things, so I'd be happy to entertain it.
This is taking place in a town park or recreational facility.
Well, the special event for the chamber music was,
Yes.
the farmer's market was slated to be behind the water station, but Eddie's, James.
It's probably in a slightly new location, but still not on. Not town property.
It's not town property,
Yeah, it'll still be private.
but still would have to be viewed because if you're having vendors and there's business licenses all involved, so yes, we have to, we need to take a look at the process.
Certainly, but not by Parks and Rec. It's outside of its mandate.
Well, I kind of felt like we championed it initially to get this on the books, so I guess that's why it kept coming back to me.
Well, I understand. I agree. The policy needs to be hammered out. What I question is it rising to the level of ordinance, and I'm going to read what the language is of this temporary special event licenses, the approval for this market, and also the original justification and reason for even creating this special event permit. Temporary special event vendor license 735.39. The temporary special event is an event sponsored by a governmental, charitable, community, or for-profit organization which has been approved by as a special event by the town council or by the mayor and or his designee. That was done. And then the motion was passed to approve the establishment of a farmers market in Harpers Ferry, including food trucks in coordination with Friendship Fire Company. So at this point, it is established. I feel like, of course, there can be more that can be done, or needs to be made, a case needs to be made for that. And now I would like to read from March 14th, 2022. The words of the motivation for bringing the matter to ordinance review committee in the first place, which was subsequently several times, and I can cite that occasions reiterating. To be honest with you, what we're doing is really helping to solve the difficulties of all these small vendors who come into town for these events. They want to participate, they're not making a lot of money with these events, but they want to participate. And we don't want to discourage them from coming to participate and getting a Harpers Ferry business license, just for some reason freaks them out. And then they have to get the West Virginia business registration certificate. And a lot of these things are very small operations. So this would really be a generous way to help our other organizations move this along. And I believe the genesis was actually the Flip Flop Festival. And actually, of course, as things go along, you need to figure out how to actually implement that. But I feel like the original spirit, that it's all there. And I feel like this work that's being done is for the good of the community to actually be able to get our fresh produce and the rest. So I guess the question is this just a matter of continuing to work out the policy? Is it something that needs to rise to creating a new set of rules?
Well, if that's what we need to sit down and talk about, when the Appalachian Chamber music kindly filled out, everything was done very quickly. And then I reviewed their application with the mayor and the chief of police. And the chief of police said it was extremely helpful reading the application because they had an estimate of how many people they thought might come to this event. If the number was higher than what they anticipated, the chief would have considered hiring a second officer, having an officer. So these are the things in advance of an event in town that the police chief and the mayor would like to know. It's also very helpful, this is not part of it, but it's helpful for the office staff to know when people call and ask questions. And we can help get the information out that yes, there is an event coming up, instead of finding out after the fact that it is happening quite frequently in the past. So there's a lot to this.
So to pull it together, it does sound like it's policy, really policy that needs to be hammered out among the office of the mayor, your role within that, the Harpers Ferry Police Department. And, can we hear from Eddie just about what, from a vendor's perspective, from thinking about who would be good to have on this task force to be able to craft a policy that we'll look at the town's interest and also the interest of having events like these, which are for the good of the community. As a Merchants Association. Go ahead. No.
I don't, you know, I'm the one who put forward this request because I thought it needed to be done a certain way. My professional experience with writing code and what's missing in the code is really what this is all about. It's not about denying anyone an event. It's not about squashing anyone's event. I'm all for events, attend them. And the hell of a one at the barn the other night. So, I think your verbiage I'm hearing from you, do you think I'm trying to squash an event? I'm not trying to do that. I noticed, in my professional opinion, that this code section was not up to snuff to what it needs to be. There's definitions missing, the vendor isn't even defined in our code. Special event isn't even defined in our code. It's basically me letting this particular section know that we need to get it tweaked. So that we can have everything covered. We've gotten issues from the public. They're worried about this event causing traffic jams, where's the trash gonna go, whatever. And the initial proposal for this particular event was it's on residential property. So can an event be taken care of on residential property? According to our current code, no, it can't.
Okay, why not? What?
Because the code says it's not can. What's on residential property?
What drew you to this issue?
Yes, sir.
What was the motivation that you said, wow, we may have an issue?
Yeah.
What was that?
Yes, because this event was coming fast and furious, and we needed to make sure that this event was gonna be okay. Okay, and that we were covered,
And who's the we?
we the town. Okay, and that we got all our ducks and eggs in a row, and that we're gonna be okay. And when I looked at the ordinance and asked Patty, how is this done? We don't even technically in the ordinance say that the applicant has to go through an application process. And we're making them go through an application process.
So I think ultimately what it comes down to is how do we start the discussion? So I think the discussion, maybe prior to anything ending up on an agenda, I don't necessarily think that there needs to be an order from town council to have that meeting. I think that you should just, as the chair of the ordinance review committee, should reach out to any parties you think are relevant to having that discussion, start planning that meeting, and then you can present that to town council if you feel like there needs to be an ad hoc committee or something, or special meeting that's gonna require more people in attendance than the ethics commission permits. And then from there, you can have that meeting, but if it's gonna be a smaller group that doesn't necessarily require permission for a larger meeting, then I think that can be kind of held prior to town council discussion, and then you can report back anything, and if there is an action that needs to be taken by town council, for example, maybe there's someone that's not been communicative in the process, then that's something that we can take action on.
I'll say, right now, we have an event that has been approved, someone has put a lot of time and energy in. Is there any impediment to our farmers market and be able to get our fresh fruits and vegetables, and meats, and feed them, and all the rest on August 30th? Is this something that basically, no, let's look at it, so we're gonna have tools going forward? Is that what we're talking about?
No, sir, that's not what we're talking about. We're talking about getting this code up to date for future events. He's already fast and furious, he's already working with Patty. We're discovering that, gee, our ordinance doesn't allow him to have his event,
That's not true.
but we're gonna let him have his event.
The ordinance says it's credits.
All right. And it's not, I'm not really trying to use arguments and so on, but I'm written code professional for many, many years. There's a lot of things missing in that section. And I just tried to take care of before Eddie got his event.
Okay.
Out the gate. So here's why. Okay, yes, I want someone else. So here's why I put the agenda item forward, because we don't know what the standing committees are supposed to do. So it's my understanding the governing body rules the standing committees. And we as an advisory, we're asking for advice, we're asking for permission to have the governing body approve that we set up this ad hoc committee, this working group for to handle possibly writing updates to the code section 735. Not trying to stop any event.
I just very early that I think it's a fundamental question of, does the town council need to direct the ordinance review committee to do this, or can the ordinance review committee do this without town council direction?
And what I've said at the beginning with this agenda item, I believe Nina echoed my thoughts. My take is it shouldn't have risen to the level of the town council. Okay, so you need to reach out to recreation,
I have.
parks and recreation, and get it resolved there.
I think we need to have a process too. So you reach out, if they don't respond,
Put it in
then
here.
we make it, then you put it on your report.
We're gonna put it in here.
And then at that point, then we take action.
Can I ask that you, before you do anything, that you look at our.
I'm sorry.
Market in the state code. Just look at the state code to see what they say about farmers market. I don't think we have
Out of
any
order.
say in it.
Hold this on for close.
I will say that we did consider these issues and the common definition of these items.
Okay, all right, we're gonna move on. And Roberta, you're just gonna reach out to recreation, parks and rec, correct?
Is that what the order, does there need a motion to that effect?
Okay. Putting motion on the floor.
Sure, I make a motion that the council recommends the ORC Parks and Rec Committee form joint working group. To review current code 735. Section 735.39. And develop immediate policy and procedures to meet immediate needs.
A second that.
Discussion on the motion. So,
I do not believe it belongs in park and rec, so it's not on the town parks, and it's not exclusively.
Let's just get it down.
other discussion.
Right.
And we're gonna move this along. Now, start cutting for you.
Trying.
It does do so with the phrase immediate needs.
Okay, what other discussion do we have? Chris,
Yeah, I don't. I think that the question is, what are the needs of the town? If it can be dealt with through the police force, through the, we need to pass a new policy. We don't, that will not require an ordinance change. I think it's good for Roberta to talk with Patty and I think it's unwise for two of us from ORC to meet with Patty, because that's a forum. And then one of the issues can be, do we need a new ordinance? But no one's said that yet.
Okay. All right, Nina.
I just think we're missing kind of the point of Roberta's item on the agenda, which is just, can she have a meeting? And yes, I think that's all it is. Can she have a meeting? Yes.
All right, any other discussion? Just add to that there is no impediment at this point to the farmers market taking place on August 3rd.
I think that was just an example more than a.
very no other discussion, all those in favor of the motion? Opposed?
No, not at all, but
That's 4 and 3 against. All right, now we're all here, how's that?
Excellent question.
Current report, item number 3 on the agenda.
We're finally.
Okay, fine. I apologize.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. Financial reports which you have this evening are for the end of June 2023. That's the close of our fiscal 2023. These are preliminary reports. I'll be working on the accounting firm over the next 2 months so they can finalize your financials. And that your accruals and adjustments will still occur and along with other necessary issues. In the general fund, our budget we did it 5, which is then the 12th year. Our targeted operating income was 1,170,000. The income as of the end of June was 1,182,000. So it's still a market over what we projected, and our operating expenses were at 9.6% of budget. For waterworks, the budgeted number represents revision 6, and the overall revenue received through June is 92.6%, which does include the one-time contribution showing that other possible time replacement and we were made right. Our operating income is at 895,000 or 97.5% of water, which is specifically 97.6%. So we're really pretty contract there. Operating expenses have consumed 97.5% of the budget, and that 59,000. the loss is projected. Again, accruals are gonna change all around, moving things back and forth, but this is the baseline to get started.
I move to approve the June 2023 financial reports as presented.
Second on the motion to approve, we have a second from Chris, discussion on the motion. All those in favor of the motion to approve the finance, please, second, ready?
So now next is your checks are the professional, we have a list there, I have now the documents here, we're gonna have this.
I move to approve the invoices and purchases over the purchasing threshold as presented.
Second on the motion to approve. We have a second from Nina, discussion on the motion to approve. Hearing none, all those in favor of the motion. 7-0, it's not good. Thank you, Debbie.
Leave the checks here, there's two, but normal.
Yes. You all have the case report in front of you, you should have it, and you also have the OCO's report. If you have any questions or issues you want me to bring forward, let me know. My pleasure now to finally introduce Tanya Gossett. Tanya is the acting superintendent for the National Park Service. I've had several meetings with Tanya, along with one of the meetings that Zach joined me and Nina did, discussing issues of mutual concern, both with the Park Service and with the town. It's a renewed relationship with Tanya. She's very active. If you don't believe that, then walk around in Lower Town and the trails and the grass is manicured and cut. We've had some very frank discussions about some issues regarding the Park Service in the town. Those found Tanya to be very amenable to ideas, and I really have enjoyed and appreciated the working relationship so far. It's been just a short period of time. Very short. Yeah, very short. So Tanya, I apologize for not getting you waiting until 20 minutes after 8, but hopefully things aren't usually this way. So Tanya Gossett, and she's joined with who? Andrew. Andrew. We all know Andrew.
Good evening, Mr. Mayor, esteemed members of council. I am Tanya Gossett. I'm the acting superintendent of Harpers Ferry National Historical Park. I have been in this acting capacity for about 2 going on 3 months, and I'll be here for about another month and a half with you. When I was asked to step in after Superintendent Randy Burke retired, one of the jobs that my boss gave me was to hire people because the park actually has quite a number of vacancies. So I've been working on that. The superintendent's position itself, a permanent superintendent's position, is on the street right now. And based on the Park Service's hiring process, we estimate that the new superintendent should be here by the end of October if everything goes just right. So that's what we're shooting for. I wanted, Mr. Mayor, Mayor Vaughn invited me to come give you some updates. I apologize for not getting a report to you sooner. I'm just gonna read off what I have, and if we have time for questions, Mr. Mayor, we're gonna do that, okay? I wanted to let you know that of course, this park is a peak park, which means we collect revenue as visitors come in. We then use that revenue we put it back into the most of the historic structures in town. And you see a lot of that work going on right now. And we have a lot more planned for the next year and a half. So we're very excited to let you know that compared to 2019, which was the last pre-pandemic year that we had sort of regular visitation, our rec fee, our revenue from visitors is up by 93%. So that says that we've almost basically doubled the number of visitors that we're seeing than we saw in 2019. I think I just kind of draw a black line through 20 and 21 and 22 because of the pandemic. So that's very exciting. I also wanted to let you know that Harpers Ferry National Historical Park is moving towards being a cashless entry park. So, we are still working out an agreement with the Parkersburg Park Association to see if we can have at least one point of sale where visitors, if they don't have a phone or an app or a credit card, will be able to go to the bookstore and purchase a park pass that way. So we're working on that. But we are excited to be cashless. There are a lot of accounting concerns about security and quality control and so on and so forth, and just making sure that by going paperless and cashless, it's a much easier accountability system.
It'll also be cashless at Cavalier Heights Center.
That's correct. I'm excited to let you know that we are in the process, the Park Service is in the process right now with a lot of money from our friends at Federal Highways and buying electric vehicle buses for the buses. So that should be happening by the end of this fiscal year, which is September 30th. We should have those buses purchased. We will not get the buses, however, right away, because then we now have to fix up the garage so that to allow them to be electric and charged and all that good stuff. So we're in the process right now. In fact, this month, we have another design charrette in the park related to the bus station up at Cavalier Heights. So once we get the design and we can actually build the new bus station, then we will have them deliver the new electric vehicle buses. We're very excited about that. Let's see, Byron Bridge. This is a project I expect most people are aware of. The staircase on the CNO Canal side of the bridge is going to be replaced. This is actually a project that is being handled out of the CNO Canal unit of the National Park Service with our coordination. And we are looking at the final design for that staircase to be complete by the end of this calendar year. And then we are hopeful that we can begin construction on it at the winter of 24 into 25. So another full year there. The design is more accessible than the current bridge. It will not be fully accessible to Architectural Barrier Act standards, or in general parlance, ADA standards, okay, but it will be better. I also have the US 340 rock slide on my agenda here. As I heard from Mayor Vaughn earlier, the National Park Service also very much in the dark about what West Virginia DOH has been up to. So we have asked for a meeting, which we are actually going to be holding with them tomorrow, to find out everything that you mentioned earlier and what the impact on the national park will be. So I will relay that information once I have a better understanding of how the park will be impacted by this. We also, as you may know, up on Camp Hill, we also have the headquarters for the Appalachian Trail, and they're also very interested in understanding what the impact of the trail will be over there, because nobody has really talked about that with us. So again, we did plan to get a meeting with them tomorrow, so I'm excited to hear what they have to say. Wanted to let you know that after meetings with Mayor Vaughn and having some additional conversations on the part of our regional office related to the accessibility project, at the point we are going to move forward with a general agreement with the town. You all will see it, you have a chance to comment on it, but assuming that both the park and the town are willing to move forward on the project overall, we want to get that general agreement in place because of the interesting legal status of that piece of roadway. So that way we enter into an agreement. It takes sort of the legal part of the right of way out of, just, it doesn't matter. If we're agreeing to go ahead with the project, we're good to go, according to our solicitors. You will want to have your town attorney, of course, review this document before anybody does anything with it. We did hear from the National Park Foundation, who had a donor lined up to help us with that project, but that donor has been waiting for quite a while for us to get this settled. That donor has decided that they'd like to see their money go elsewhere. But I do want to assure you, members of council, that if we get to the point where the project is shovel ready, we have talked to the National Park Foundation, and they assure us we can come back to them and see if there is additional donation money available. They are still very interested in the project. So it is not dead on there as far as they're concerned. We think we have another opportunity. We just need to get all of our ducks in a row. So that we can move forward. Shipley School, I know this is of some concern. Mayor Vaughn brought this to my attention. The park did make a site visit out there to see, take another look at the school, see what we could do. We do have a few sort of general cleanup projects lined up already. We're gonna look at the fence and see if we can do something a little better with the fencing to make it a little more attractive. Fundamentally, however, the rehabilitation of that building is a very big price tag, and we don't have a clear program for it yet. So we can work around sort of the edges and the outside and try to make it as attractive as possible for the town, but we can't, we don't have the funding, the project funding to do anything major at the building at this time. And then finally, we are working right now with our Harpers Ferry Park Association, and as I speak, in another meeting with the Storer College alumni group, working on a speaker series for Black History Month coming up in February next year. And we're pretty excited about that. This would be both a combination of Park Service speakers, a little living history, some interpretation, but also scholarly members of the academic community coming in and speaking on a number of different topics related to African American history in this area, related to Harpers Ferry, related to people who have been associated with Harpers Ferry through the many hundreds of years of the town's history. So we're very excited about that. We would welcome interest from the community on this. And if anybody is interested in working with us on this, if you know somebody who you think would be a great speaker, Kristen Maxfield, who is our Chief of Interpretation and District Services, is the park point of contact. And with that, I will wrap up my comments, and if there's anything. Yes, sir.
Madam Superintendent, thanks for all the good news. A very small matter. Last week, either a park employee or a vendor painted 2 accidental white stripes on Zachary Taylor Street. And are there any plans to have that mitigated?
This is the first I've heard of it. So if somebody could perhaps forward me some photographs and.
On your way to work tomorrow, turn to Zachary Taylor
Okay.
from Washington, on the
Okay.
way to the parking lot. You'll see it. Don't follow those lines as center lines because they're off and you'll go into Billy's yard.
The white lines are across the street.
It's a paint, it looked like a paint bucket.
A paint bucket
Ah,
leaked when it made the turn the entire length of the street.
okay, and we think it was a Park Service.
If you follow the line. It's incriminating. Not to play detective.
Thank you for all your work. I've
Thank you.
enjoyed the park since the 1970s and appreciate it every day. Thank you.
Right, wonderful.
Can you give us, is it Kristen with a K?
Yes, ma'am.
And can you give us a contact name and email?
It's Kristen Maxfield, and you can read, all Park Service people mostly can be reached this way, Kristen _ Maxfield @ nps.gov.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Anything else for the superintendent?
Glad you're here.
I know this is not directly under Harpers Ferry, but it's a CNO, but is the completion of the project on the canal wall and the getting Harpers Ferry Road across the river still on schedule? They were talking about the end of the summer to complete that.
On the CNO side,
Mhm.
yeah, that's a question for Tina, I think. No, I'm sorry.
Anything else?
One extra question, again, thank you for being here, it's awesome to see the Park Service representative at these meetings again. But you'd mentioned that we're back up 90-some% of visitation from pre-pandemic levels.
We're over 90.
Do you know if parking facilities at Cavalier Heights or downtown have reached near capacity at all in some of the peak weekends we've had?
Once this summer, I think Memorial Day week was the we monitor that very carefully. You know, I mean, literally they're on the radio all day, like what's full, what's not full, which lots, who's got space. But that has been the only weekend so far. we have had conversations about the issue of overflow parking a lot since I've been here. And that is something that the leadership team will continue to look at, but in larger events, especially if we're gonna do a big like full-time Christmas and that kind of thing. It may be something that Park will be moving into a incident command system. Just to be able to manage that a little bit better, so we'll see how it goes, but it hasn't been, oh gosh, knock on wood, hasn't been too bad.
Thank you.
What else? Are you invited, or is Harper's Ferry invited to your meeting with the DOA?
I really would like to, but there are so many people on my side of the, this, on the Park Service, including our regional staff. I decided it's gonna be unwieldy, let's have a conversation, government to government first, and then, I'll let you know how it goes, and if there's follow-up, I would certainly like. to have
Or I'll let you know if I can follow up in the district 5. Right. Anything else? Superintendent, thank you so much. Thank you very much. All right, Storm, can you bust through these three real quick?
I can. So I've submitted a complete report. You're free to ask questions. I'll just hit the highlights, and then there are a couple items that are on the actual agenda. Things that aren't on there, that I'll note are the new radio read meter system for the waterworks. That there's an ongoing effort to develop a bid package for that. For the water distribution system. And this development team includes financial officer, public works administrator, Mike Rock, Water Commission, and myself. It's determined that a meeting will be held within weeks to advance the effort, and that meeting was held, and there is progress being made. Similarly, there is an effort to develop an RFP for the maintenance of mains contractor. And this is to secure an annual contractor who will help us with our regular maintenance of the water mains. Public Works Administrator is working on this bid package, which will be reviewed by Budget and Finance before it would ultimately come before Town Council. Similarly, there's an effort to have an RFQ for an annual town vehicle maintenance contractor. And that is in the works, and now there is a task force is discussed being the financial officer, the town clerk, representing the police department, and then one member of town council. And our fellow council member, George Owens, has agreed to fill that role. Thank you, George. And then the other items are, and then there was a discussion of the disposition of the opioid settlement funds, in which Reporter Armstrong briefed the committee on a meeting convened by the state to discuss the future disposition of opioid settlement funds pending a lot.
Yeah, I should have a meeting later this month, and I'll be able to provide an update in the September meeting about the progress of that.
Thank you.
And the other items are separate agenda items. Which are also mine. So, okay, this is, there's no action on this, but as a notification, multiple check signers are needed to ensure there's someone available to get checks out the door in a timely manner. These check signers must be town fiduciaries, meaning they're responsible for putting the town's interests above their own. Currently, these check signers are Mayor Vaughn, Chief Brown, and Chris Craig. And to maintain financial separate duties, any person who approves bills should not also sign checks. I've agreed to be the primary bill approver. And we have determined that, once again, George Owen will be the additional check signer. He's agreed to perform that function. Thank you again, George. Now we're on item D2, thank you. Discussion action regarding website and IT development. Right. So at the meeting, Reporter Armstrong presented her vision for upgrading the town's website and IT system. This proposal involves adopting a Wix platform which has a focus on user-friendly features to serve the town's diverse needs. The current budget for the project is confirmed to be $20,000. The cost of the platform subscription fee and setup and ongoing maintenance were discussed, and it was determined that a task force should be formed to finalize specifications and expected costs, and to seek input from residents and a wide field of other stakeholders. So with that, Dana, I turn it to you to describe.
Yeah, so the decision is to use the Wix platform. It's a lot more cost effective than the previous options we were considering. And there'll be training so that different members of town staff and council members can sort of assist with the functionality of the website. And so hoping to set up a time in the near future, and I would sort of like to do it similarly to how the comprehensive plan meeting was done. There's an open house, people can talk about what features they're interested in adding to the website. And then there'll be a kind of committee that comes together. We look at what the top suggestions are for what people want for the website and the features on the website. We consider sort of a priority list of what should be top, and then can go through from there to decide sort of what the schedule will be for adding those features to the website and creating a release date and things like that. So hoping to set up a meeting and start progressing on that over the next month, and it should have an update for the September meeting regarding that.
I move that a working group, an ad hoc working group headed by Recorder Armstrong be established to investigate rebuilding and operating the town's website by using the Wix platform. And before I finish, I think usually we would have members of the working group be presented to council for approval. So that's part of the motion.
Second on the motion. Second from Chris, discussion on the motion.
Okay, you're asking to set up an ad hoc committee. that
Working
will-
group,
Working group. Under town council. Correct?
yes.
And the members will be how many?
Hmm.
If it's just members of town council, I think it's 3, but if we're gonna extend it to other commissions and committees, I think that we should have each commission or committee submit their own person that they'd like to attend.
Well, I think we may need to discuss this a bit more about who needs to be on the committee.
Yeah,
So obviously, yeah, we would want there to be, you are the town council representative, but beyond that. Probably a member of the mayor's office would need to be involved.
the town clerk,
The town clerk could be.
Yeah.
From that function.
Yeah.
Other key stakeholders, if they're, it could be the Merchants Association or another that would have interest. In visitor information, but we don't have to decide who they are right now, so maybe it's 5.
Definitely an odd number. I would definitely suggest
I
that.
sound good.
Okay, and the terms will expire at the end of the term of this administration,
At the conclusion of the task.
conclusion of the task. If the task goes past this administration,
Yeah, that's nature of.
but if these members of town council are no longer on there, I think we need to make it like every ad hoc committee and.
They
and-
do persist.
Not
The
really.
term, they do, I will read out of Robert's rules, if you'd like me to. The committee persists, but if it is a member of town council, their term ends with their council term, at which point another person will be needed to be appointed to. the committee.
Okay, and will your membership include a resident, a volunteer resident, we might have it together?
I believe it should, but that's the next phase. And maybe we discuss this again in budget and finance, if we want to hammer out more specifics.
Yeah. that sounds
Do you really need to have, this motion tonight until you really formulate everything?
Oh, yeah, it's a discussion action. I mean, we could bring it back in September with a little bit more hashed out of the plan and then have it there. Right now, I think it's just more of a discussion, letting everyone know what the status is.
George,
I agree that it ought to be brought back for action in September,
Great.
and that we postpone.
Okay.
I would try to.
All right, motion withdrawn. All right,
Any questions?
anything else, Sean?
That is all I covered the last item in the report.
Okay, thanks. Thanks, Sean. Steve?
He was in that room?
That was
Dramatic entrance.
Here's Ernest and Jim.
Dan, fine here. I have three things for you just in terms of what we should do. Month of July, we covered 7.2 million gallons of water. We metered 3.7 million gallons. It was the size 2% yield. 4% of what
we consumed was for backwashing the filters, and then because I have about 44% of my count of water. Tank levels, we had an average of about 70, just over 77%. Maximum at 87%, and got a minimum tank level at 69.5%. The DEP, our discharge permit with the Department of Environmental Protection. That's a 5-year permit that has been renewed for temporary renewal for 6 months. It's not time to complete the applications for a full 5-year renewal. So that's something that has to be done this fall. And then Tomic River with Lava that received their complexity, cost, and conserve. We'd like to not have to withdraw water from the Potomac. It's not something that we typically do. And we are preparing to do that because the Elks Run level on the Elks Run has been dropping very significantly. I have 2 things working against each other as basically we don't have any rain and everything dries out. People use more water to fill their swimming pools and water their gardens and their lawns and all the rest. So to the extent that, and actually I will be doing something in Bolivar's newsletter that goes out this week, asking residents to conserve to the extent they can, and help we can get. We've got an Harpers Ferry side that we want to. Okay. Any question?
Thank you.
Stay right here. General report from Water Commission. Do you have anything to report from the commission stand? Okay. Discussion action, water drainage project on North Zachary Taylor Street. Steve, you and I have been. I spoke to you earlier about that. I had looked at that item. So what's the latest you're finding?
Okay, so the mayor asked me to, in anticipation of this being on tonight's agenda, the mayor asked me to engage Ryan Slusher, one of our class 1 operators. Go take a look. This is really a stormwater issue that's going on in the water department. So Ryan and I were able to go this afternoon, met with Esther and the homeowner, and we were able to get a tour of the basement and determine that this is not water that is coming in that we have to produce. It's not potable water. As we understand her issue, she gets a lot of rainwater that then pools of puddles. Corner of her house and works its way into the foundation. So I think this would be a great place for a stormwater garden or something like that. I think we did talk to her a little bit about just looking at the she has probably, except for just the front face of that house, all of the rest of the water coming off that house comes onto that side of the house and contributes to the problem. That's not the only line. The road itself, Zachary Taylor extended, you might say, slopes down and, it's not crowned. It slopes right into the house and all that. But there's also broken concrete. It looks like maybe at some point it was better, but someone who knows a lot about stormwater.
So it's not as simple as a failure of one element, just systemically, it needs reworking.
What am I? Steve, what's your opinion on that? As far as corrective action that we could do to help the resident?
Well, I suggested, I talked a little bit about the gutters, and I suggest first thing, if she could get the gutters redirected, the downspouts redirected, that might alleviate a bit of problem right there. And I did not discuss this whole idea of garden, a paint garden. That's not it's a dead end street. It's it's a paper street, I believe, that house. I don't know how much traffic you have really going in and how wide that
And Steve really needs to be, but if you were able to, I toured, up in, Bath, well, when we were up in Bath, West Virginia. They, some of their areas, they put rain gardens between the sidewalk and the street itself. And they brought this is in their downtown area, they redirected all the water coming off the buildings, actually came down underneath the sidewalk and into the rain garden. And, you know, it wouldn't have to be a large, you know, but it could be a good showcase, something other along there.
Is the issue on our property or the owner's property?
It was different, I know, it was different out to see where, I mean, you know, the town typically, the resident typically does not own a sidewalk. What runs along right up to the edge of the house on Zachary Taylor looks like a sidewalk. It's a, you know, concrete paved, concrete, walkway or whatever, but it butts the house, whether that was part of the house and part of the street, stuff like that.
But that's gonna be, and that's gonna be a question, once we get into stormwater, is determining what is the town's responsibility, legal or otherwise, when we're doing these things. And it's sort of something that, once we have a general plan, we can start making engineering plans.
Mr. Mayor.
Yeah, I understand, George, because I'm gonna rely on you, you've been in contact with George a couple of times. So as far as mitigation, we just don't know right now what we can do. George, what have you got that we haven't discussed so far?
Yes, the problem is entirely on the town right of way. The right of way goes right up to the edge of the house and stops. He correctly observed that the public sidewalk goes sidewalk and then a concrete gutter on the town property, probably created by the town, and then the asphalt street. It's clear the problem exists in the 30 feet that you go from the edge of the Washington Street state right of way backwards towards to the north. The grade of that street in that section is towards Washington Street to the south. And you correctly observe that most of the water comes from their roof. Guttering, sending it out to the public sidewalk on Washington Street would be the only option. In either case, if they redirected that, and we talked about, I talked this with a neighbor, they'd have to alter town property. They have to tear up the sidewalk, things that aren't really within the purview to do. It is a relatively simple fix to have, for the town's right of way, that gutter to be, the concrete to be torn up and proper 4 inches of concrete put in the rebar. I'm not a construction specialist, but it's for that reason that I have a motion for us to ask for an estimate. Quite right, this is not a potable water issue, it's a rainwater issue. It probably doesn't belong to the water department.
Go ahead with your motion.
My motion, and I want to make this as quickly as possible, a motion that the council authorize an estimate for repair of North Zachary Taylor Street drainage to prevent leakage into 900 Washington Street.
Second on the motion.
I'll second.
Second from our discussion on the motion. Hearing none, all those in favor of the motion. Opposed? 7-0. Thank you, George.
Thank you very much.
Okay, where are we, Steve? Vacancy on the water commission. Yeah, we're gonna handle that, or you want me to handle that?
I am.
We have a vacant seat. But we've got many seats on the water commission, and you should have something in your packet regarding a resident who was here earlier and stated that he is willing to serve on the water commission. I also received prior to this meeting another email from another resident wishing to serve full-time. But we can't take action on that because this individual's name is not submitted for the agenda. So we will deal with that at the next meeting. And so we can move with that. George, what do you got?
Is this agenda item still open?
Yeah, I'm looking forward to.
I wanted to make a motion.
So
I make a motion that the town council appoint Wayne Bishop to be interim chair of the Parkinsburg Water Commission for a period of not less than 4 months.
Okay, we can't dictate to the water commission who their chair is going to be. That's the water commission's responsibility, it's not the town council.
I'd like to amend my motion.
Okay, thanks.
I'd like to amend my motion to state that, change it rather, not amend it. I motion that the town council appoint Wayne Bishop to be an interim member of the Harpers Water Commission for a period of not less than 4 months.
I thought Wayne stated not to exceed 4 months.
Yes.
Yeah.
Well, he may have stated that,
I think
I think that was his letter.
he stated 4 months.
Yeah.
let me restate this for the final time. Motion that the town council appoint Wayne Bishop to be an interim member of the Harpers Ferry Water Commission for not
Term not to exceed 4 months.
a term not to exceed 4 months.
Second on the motion to approve. Second from McGurk. Discussion on the motion to approve. All right. Ask the questions. Yeah, thank you, Patty. That's correct.
Yeah. Got it.
We don't take emotions on filling positions, we nominate.
Yeah.
Okay, so George, what you're gonna do,
Thank you.
you're going to nominate Wayne Bishop to fill a part-time vacancy on the water commission not to exceed 4 months.
That is,
That's what you're gonna do, and it won't, does not require a second, and there will be no discussion.
But there's a second on the floor. Does he need to officially strike his motion?
Right, so you strike it.
I strike my previous motion.
All right, so now go ahead, George, with the nomination.
I nominate Wayne Bishop to be a member of the Harpers Ferry Water Commission for a term not to exceed 4 months.
Okay, now I'm going to ask the recorder to do a roll call vote, and how the recorder is going to do this. She's going to start with the council members, going to go through 5 council members. Then she will call her name, and then she will end up with me. Your only response will be yes or no. So if you are in favor of appointing Wayne for not to exceed 4 months, you will answer yes. If you are opposed, you will answer no. Have the recorder do roll call now.
Okay, George Owens,
Yes.
Chris Craig,
Yes.
Roberta Mead Curry,
Yes.
Storm DeSanto,
No.
Zachary Most.
Yes.
Right, and Leah Armstrong, yes. Then
No.
the final vote is. Oh,
5-2.
yeah, 5-2.
5-2 roll point, okay. Okay, anything else, Steve?
Mayor, one thing, I just wanted to acknowledge that on that Elk Run watershed, Steve has been participating in that, also Chris Steyer and Megan Deal, who was our wonderful consultant from Region 9 for the stormwater study, so. That's it.
All right, it's part of my update. That's it. Guys, good luck on the water.
Thank you, Steve.
All right, Patty, what do you got?
Okay, so we have a discussion and action of appointments to the Parks and Recreation Commission. We have 2 people who have submitted their letters in your packet. I don't know if council is aware that Parks and Rec used to be a commission of 3 members, and we changed it to 5. So I was told at the time by the recorder to be creative when it comes to figuring out the terms that they created. So I went out to the website and I did see that there were errors out there. So what I have found that, we do have two open positions. We have a seat 3 that would, end on January 31st, 2025, and we have a vacant seat that would end on January 30th, 2026. So we are looking for these two applicants to fill those seats. And you have them in the packet.
Okay, so we have a Pollyann.
Seating.
Park. I know. We have Pollyann Cart Van Vliet, that's Tommy Van Vliet's wife. And then we have Wayne Bishop. Also has expressed an interest, and we do have a room on the commission for both members.
Nominate Holly and Park Van Vliet.
Yeah, but it's, term ending January 1st, 2026.
Want to take nominations one at a time?
Sorry, what seat did you get from?
Seat 4, which would be terminating January 31, 2026.
Okay,
All right. That nomination. Go ahead, Paul, since we have two vacancies and only two applicants.
all right, George Owens,
Yes,
Chris Craig,
Yes.
Rosita Gray, wait.
Yes.
From Stampa,
yes.
right, Zachary Morse,
Yes.
right, Nina Armstrong, yes. Greg Vaughn,
Yes.
yeah,
And then the next vacancy will be seat number 3 with a term ending January 31, 2025.
I'd like to nominate the other applicant, Wayne Bishop, for that seat.
I mean, name.
George Owens,
Yes,
Chris Craig,
Yes.
Roberta Meekert,
Yes.
from Deacon Sandra,
No,
Zachary Morse,
Yes.
Nina Armstrong, yes. Greg Vaughn,
No.
Thank you very much. I will get these new terms out to. Well, I'll have the message sent to you. Okay, sorry, thank you.
Thanks, Patty.
Thank
One more, do we have a rep?
yes, Guy called me, we did not have a meeting, took the meeting last time because we did not have quorum. Carrie and Mr. Van Vliet were not present, so we did not have quorum. We are eagerly looking forward to resuming work on Appendix A at our next regularly scheduled meeting. Thank you.
Thank you. Planning Commission.
Can I ask a question on that? George, if you could, I guess not a question, but, be sure that Tommy understands that so far the people that you all are asking for feedback on Appendix A can't access that file.
That is a problem. And that he's going, as soon as we see him, we'll make it work.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you very much.
All right, Planning Commission, Zach.
Planning commission is not met since the last town council. So there's no report. Okay.
All right, so we have, planning commission. H2, discussion action regarding appointment to two vacancies on the planning commission whose terms coincide with the term of the current elected body. We have 5. Excuse me, pardon, 4. We have 4 applicants for this. So let me read all of the detail to give us an idea how we are to do this. This is the first time that I can recall that we've had multiple applicants for a set number of vacancies. So that exceed the number of vacancies. It's always been, we have 1 vacancy, we have an applicant, we have 2 vacancies, we have 2 applicants. But let me give you the detail on how we are to do this, right? This is coming out of the planning commission ordinance. One member must be a member of the town council or its designee. And one member must be a member of the administrative office of the mayor or the mayor's designee. That's our guidance on how we select these two positions. I'll read that again, it's really thorough.
Well, it sounds like we do one and then we do the other.
I guess. I mean, it's wonderful. George,
Point of information, I've been studying that lengthy document myself. I think what it does is it does away with the term that we've used in the past, liaison, that we've used interchangeably with designee. And so it makes clear, as I believe the mayor has said, that the council nominates its designee and then the council confirms. And then the mayor nominates his designee and then the council confirms. Do you confirm?
well, we have 7 people on this council, and I will guarantee you, we will have 7 different opinions.
Okay.
My point is on our last agenda tonight. That's why my last agenda item is on our agenda tonight, to do away with this nebulous way of coming up with someone to serve on a planning commission. Because there's 2 people who are going to end up with a short straw. And there's no definitive way on how we are to select those 2 short straws.
Mr. Mayor. To that end, and having thought on this, I have a motion for procedure. A motion that the planning commission, town council designee be nominated and confirmed first by town council resolution. And that the planning commission mayor's designee be nominated second by the mayor and confirmed by town council resolution.
Well, that means that it's the formal motion. It's decided.
That is a motion.
Oh, okay.
As I said, I have procedural motion.
That's what you said, when you said.
That's what you said, and
I'm looking for a way out.
I'm hoping this will be helpful. And I have it typed out.
All right, it's got to on the floor. Hearing none, all those in favor of the motion. Opposed. Three opposed. All right, so the motion passes.
Now. Point of information.
Mayor,
You be recognized.
I would like to nominate Paul Mayhew as the council. Member, to the designated member to the planning commission.
And do we undertake additional nominations, or do we decide one nomination?
Well, Robert's rules of specs said we put all the nominations out and then we voted on one by one, it's out of the vote.
Sir. I would like to nominate Jesse Melton as the town council designee on the planning commission. Are we allowed discussion in that?
No.
This is not a discussion matter.
Any other nominations? From the council? All right, we'll take them one at a time. Nina,
So I guess it's on Paul Mayhew first.
and Mayhew.
George,
No,
Chris Craig,
And we're voting on Paul Mayhew. Yes.
Roberta Meeker.
No.
Storm DeSanto,
Yes.
Zach Morris,
No.
Neil Armstrong, no. Greg Vaughn,
Yes.
all right, and then regarding Jesse Melton, George,
yes,
Chris Craig,
No.
Roberta Meeker,
Yes.
Storm DeSanto.
Yeah.
Zach Morris,
Yes.
Neil Armstrong. Yes, And Greg Vaughn?
No,
Point of order, and that does not invalidate the vote, but I believe the procedure is you name the candidate that you are voting for, and then the towns.
Oh,
It's everything.
so that's the council position.
So we go down the line one, is what you're saying, okay, okay.
Got
And that if no one, if there were 5 candidates and no one got a majority, then we would go through again, and then we put the white smoke in.
All right, thank you.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right, we go to the mayor's designate. This mayor is designating.
I have a quick disclosure to make. I received quite a few emails from residents of town and also entities outside of town regarding an applicant. And I am gonna be submitting that. With the meeting minutes. Okay.
Anything else for Burke?
Oh, and then I put that forward on our last meeting that I did receive, information from outside sources.
We're already on record for that. Thank you. Anything else before I go? All right. I'm going to nominate Chris Craig as the mayor designate.
All right. Oh, do we have the other nominee? Or not?
So mayor's only nominated.
There's one more. Okay. All right, George Jones.
What would you,
On this, it would be yes, could looking for.
do I say the name?
No. You can.
No,
Chris Craig,
Yes.
Roberta Mead Curry,
No,
Storm DeSanto,
Yes.
Jackie Moore,
No.
Armstrong, I'm going no, and.
Yes.
All right, so I think the next motion would be to make another nominee, we have another nominee, okay.
and the floor nominate
No.
someone? No. All right, that's not, that's on the sounds good. Got the procedure covered.
Okay, discussion and action regarding. Building standard changes to meet current and future housing. Jack, you want to talk about this?
I did not add this to the agenda, so I.
that's my agenda. item.
Okay, before I go to George. I can find it in here, Zach. I sent Zach an email. Right there, a month or so ago. And I believe that this item. Should be. Turned over to and taken up by the planning commission. I don't think that. That we need to dictate. To the planning commission. What we think they should be doing all the time. I think that this is. If the planning commission wants to take this issue up. That should be up to the planning commission, depending on their workload, what they're working on right now. As opposed to us telling them what they need to be doing. I think this issue needs to be referred to the planning commission and leave it up to the planning commission on how to pursue this. As opposed to us dictating to the planning commission that we want them to do this, that, or the other. Because we have no idea what is on their work plate for their responsibility that is charged with. I don't think this needs to be on the agenda. Chris and then George.
I agree with that, and I would also mention that I believe this is a major issue that the comprehensive plan process should address, and it actually it's very closely related to something that has been discussed in the comprehensive plan meeting with the consultants and the planning commission. I think that's the case with us.
Okay, George?
Yes, and I fully agree with Chris that this is very closely related to the comprehensive plan and belongs to the planning commission. I've had a tenure of a couple of years on the planning commission. The president of it at that time made it very clear that we only took up matters that were, one, in the town right of way, and two, that were given to us by the town council for consideration. That's in the record, reiterated several times. I don't see the harm in us recommending that they do form this kind of action. And this was put in that direction. I'd also like to bring up, by the way, the pressing need for this matter. Just coincidentally, the Observer, which is dropped in our mailbox for free, God bless them, for August, on page 5, happened to talk about many more new homes in Jefferson County, and they sent us this graphic graph, which showed a dramatic increase in housing starts here, and over 50% of them are townhouses. Then it just so happened on the facing page, and I brought up this very same issue at Landmarks as well as this council. It says developer request increased housing density. There's a where there are open fields, developers, God bless them, will put in houses in open fields, and they have a right to, and it's good for our economy. Where there are confined towns, where space is small, it's called infill.
Okay.
And it typically has density. I'll hurry this along. I have a motion to place on the table. Motion that the town council request the planning commission make ordinance recommendations to the town council for development standards to meet current and future market conditions.
Is there a second on that motion?
I'll second it.
Discussion on the motion.
Yeah, I believe it is premature as part of the comprehensive plan process to believe this. The town input has been received, if not analyzed at this point.
I'll reiterate my issue on this, and it's not up to the town council to dictate planning commission what their workload should be. Any other discussion, Zach?
Regardless of how this vote goes, the planning commission has heard this issue, it will be reflected in the comprehensive planning process or at our next meeting, so.
Thank you. Any other discussion? All those in favor of the motion, raise your hand. Opposed? Motion fails. Where are we now, Zach? Help me out here. We at the Board of Zoning Appeal. All right.
No, sorry. You got, an answer. Oh, no, that was good now.
Thank you, Superintendent. Thank you. Roberta, did you correct the mayor or what?
I'm sorry.
Am I okay?
I wrote it down.
All right, so, Board of Zoning Appeals discussion action regarding filling a vacancy in BZA. We have one applicant and one applicant. We have one candidate that has been submitted. You all have that candidate. There is an opening on the Board of Zoning Appeals. George,
I have a motion. Do I
you
nominate?
have a nomination.
I have a nomination. I nominate Bart Weasley as a member of the Board of Zoning Appeals.
Okay, Nina, call the roll.
Right, George Owens.
Yes.
Yes.
Roberta B. Curry,
Yes.
Storm Cassandra,
Yes.
Diane Morse,
Yes.
Nina Armstrong, yes. And Greg Vaughn.
Yes. Okay, Nina, you, as the recorder, you need to contact. Bart Whitley and advise him that he is to resign effective today's date. From the police commission. He's not permitted under state code to be serving on another commission. So when he submits his resignation via email to you and me. And the town clerk, make sure that his resignation date from the police commission is today's date, because he cannot be on the BZA regulations. Okay,
Did you assign a term yet?
Yeah, you didn't.
BZA appointment.
all right.
of order, I think we might be two minutes.
Oh, yeah, we do. There are two different vacant seats for the BZA. Alt seat 2, which is the term ending January 1st, 2025, and alt seat 3, which is the term ending January 1st, 2023. But that would have already happened.
Let's go with 23 first, and then,
Well, no, that already happened, January 1st, 2023.
The seat is open.
oh, yeah,
Is that mean?
it's been open then, right?
Yeah, so the term,
The term would restart.
exactly, it continues to speak, it's up to this, right?
Quick
Okay.
point of clarification, are we appointing for a seat or for a alternate
See,
seat? Okay. Okay.
Alright.
Oh, actually, sorry, I was misreading this. Those are the alternate seats. The seats that are vacant are seat 5, which is the term ending January 1st, 2025, or seat 2, term ending January 1st, 2026. So seat 2 or seat 5.
Makes no difference to the chair.
Okay, I'll go ahead then. I nominate Bart Levy for seat 2 for BZA, the term ending January 1st, 2026. I'll second that.
Let us know.
No, second post. George,
Yes.
Chris,
Yes.
Roberta,
Yes.
Storm,
yes,
Zach.
Yes.
Oh, yes.
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 All right, tree commission,
I have a little confusion with your council agenda tonight because you have two things that are 4.3, J3. I just and the documents were put in different places. There's 2 J1s, J4, what are 2 4 J1s, and 2 4 J3s. I mean, is that normal that you give documents the same name number?
Oh, you're saying our documents are not named correctly according to the agenda item. Is that what you're saying?
If you look at the documents as they come up on, I'm dealing with your OneDrive, which is a real pain in the butt, just so you know, real pain in the butt. I'm a Mac person myself, and if you go to item 4, there's 2 places where J shows up. You have an attachment 4J1 here, 4J3 here. You scroll down and you've got down here, you got a 4J1 here and a 4J3 here.
I can explain that. So
What, they're different documents.
what it looks like happened is it looks like the agenda item requests were put under something. And the attachments to those agenda item requests were put in separately. So they should be together technically.
Well, it just made it hard for me to
I
figure out what
totally
the hell
get
was
it.
going on.
I was confused myself. So I
Right.
appreciate that.
Okay, so let's go on to the items. I'm here mostly because the chair of the tree commission refuses to come to these meetings, understandably. Just past my bedtime. The draft, I'm here because of the draft tree plan for 2023, and this is just a draft tree plan of the things that we plan to do. One of the things that was on this, beat us to it and it got blown down, and that was removal of one of the trees. And luckily the mayor directed me to call the state to get them to do it, and so I made several phone calls to the state highway division of highway. To speak to a guy who didn't recognize me when he actually showed up to have to direct, supposedly direct me. But in any case, they took the responsibility of cleaning up that tree. So that $1,400, which I had on our budget, is now available for other things. But I'm looking at this item that Roberta has put on here that she doesn't want to have anything done until something's done about the invasive species, and I'm assuming that the invasive species, what she's talking about are things like the ivy. Is that true?
Right, can we get that item, yes?
Well, Robert and I have been taking care of most of the ivy on the state, I mean, on the town street trees.
So let's talk about that item when we get to it, but I appreciate you. I'm gonna.
Well, no, because let me give you some good news.
All right, we're not going down this road. Christie, give the tree commission report. You did the tree commission report, I'll handle the rest of it.
All right, okay, well, in any case, we have, I went and had the arborist from Antietam come out again and go over some other items that popped up. As I said, this thing is forever being modified. It's not something that you can say, yep, this is it, and then a month from now, it's still it, because trees don't wait for y'all to do whatever you're gonna do. So I have 5 more items. They are to elevate the tree, the tulip poplar tree, which I noticed trucks hitting it, and that's the one that will cost us $6,980 to remove. If we want to remove it, by the way, this is more than $4,000 more the first time I brought this up a few years ago. But in any case, that $200 to elevate that above the tree, that's the one item that be added to this list that you have. Another one is crown pruning a tree at the corner of Cambridge and West Ridge. $400 to do that. Another one is to elevate the limbs that of the trees that are on 1200 block of West Ridge, $250. Store College Place, we had 2 trees that took a hit on that street in the same storm that took down Kevin Cose's favorite silver maple, and one of those trees is pretty much dead, and I've got an estimate of $1,050 to remove that tree. And then Patrick Tierney asked to have his tree looked at, so I had the arborist look at that. 2020, we paid $510 to have the dead branches removed, and they've given me an estimate of $500 to have the dead branches removed.
Okay, so did you just add 5 items?
5 items added to that tree.
Okay, can we not, I'm confused, and I would appreciate if you submitted that in writing to us, so we have a new total. But, I appreciate you, I had,
There's not a case of a total, because we can't afford all this.
Okay, well,
yeah, so.
I'm gonna allow her to finish her report.
Yes.
Okay, don't interrupt
No, I'm
her.
sorry, I apologize.
She's given a report. We'll get into discussion, so
Right,
proceed just with your report for the tree.
right, I'm
Okay?
giving you, these are items that need work, we can't afford it all. And so the tree commission is responsible for, well, the tree commission is putting in an application to get a state maximum grant now, since I found out about it. So we will be filling out that grant application. As soon as I get word from the town council that we can go forward. The grant opened on July 1. The application period opened on July 1. Any work that I do now is not counting towards it. We need a matching of $500 worth of my time, so any time that I'm spending on now, nothing's counting.
How much of a grant are you putting in for Chris?
$3,500 in our budget that we have is $3,000, so $500 has to be my slave labor.
You submitted the grant yet?
No, can't.
Okay, all right. Okay. So you're going to submit the grant?
I'm going on vacation, I'm
Okay.
going away for,
Okay,
so as soon as I find out, then I will start working on the grant application, but the minute, if it gets delayed, won't be able to do it until I get back from vacation.
May I ask the financial officer, are the funds in the account available for the grant?
I think I'm tracking with you. So what you're saying is you're asking for final approval of your plan for the grant application that you're gonna put in, and that's going to fund what you presented there?
No, it's
Still
on part.
outside. So how much an addition from your?
I'm
plan?
not asking for more.
Okay, so what are you
We
asking?
won't be able to afford all this.
So are you asking for, so if the town were willing to provide funds outside of the matching grant program and the tree commission monies to deal with the other tree issues that you see, are they not able to do that? Can you give us a number?
Oh, if you want to increase the amount, then Bob Hannah has told me I could double the amount that we asked for and he'd find it.
Okay, well, it's not exactly what I'm asking. Beyond the amount of money that you've already proposed for the grant, how much more money do you need from what you've got there?
$1,000.
$1,000, okay, so that can,
This additional is $2,400. We have
So,
$1,400.
plus the $1,000,
Yes.
so
So it's $1,000.
So what can happen is the additional you can approve the grant application that she's presenting. That was part of the budget that we looked at in our budget and finance meeting.
Right.
And is in the fiscal 24 budget. And then that $1,000 can be approved as part of street work.
500, because it's a matching grant.
Okay, but.
So we only have to
So,
pop
hang
500.
on, no, that's not exactly right, Christie, because
No.
that will, hang on, please. Okay, this is really complex. If we're going to change the grant and the grant match, we must revise the budget. There's not time, it sounds from what you're saying, to revise the budget and get it into Bob Hannah in time to assure that we get the funds. So my suggestion would be to go with the grant as you propose, and the additional $1,000 come out of street contracted services.
Yes.
Okay.
You got that, Christie?
I'm okay with that.
Okay, go.
But the state doesn't need to know that you guys are.
No, they don't need to know any of that, just
Doesn't matter.
put your grant in the way you got it, just the way you presented it.
Well, I can't, because I never, had that tree that fell down.
Okay, but then with the changes that you
Right.
propose to make the total money.
Christie, you finished with your report?
Yep.
All right, thank you.
Okay,
All right.
I have some comments.
Okay, might as well go to the next agenda item, but I don't want to make.
Well, okay, I would just like to enter into the record, that I've made some comments regarding the 2023 tree plan. And I'd like to give that to, Christie. I went around today and looked at all the trees and I agree with some, and I have some questions on others, so would I get with Christie on that? And I looked at the tree plan, we're planting 4 trees, we're replanting 4 trees, we're removing up to 6 trees. And, I saw a credit back to the town council, according to your budget of 2760, I did enter that into the record, and, I gave that a copy of that. So, and what she presented, hopefully we're not voting on today, because I don't have an estimate of what she's presenting for us to approve, and I'm hoping that's not what we're trying to do.
There's no approval required. May I ask of the chair of the tree commission if you consult with an arborist?
Well, oh, yeah, that is who I would go with, yeah.
So these items were looked at by her, thank you.
Do you have that report that you can submit along with that tree plan?
What's that?
Do you have the arborist report that you can ultimately?
It's not a
submit?
report, he gives me a proposal and he gives me the price.
Okay, is it the same person cutting down the trees? that gives
Yeah,
you the
it
report?
sure is.
So the same person cutting down the trees tells you the tree is bad.
Nope,
So it's two
I'm the
separate-
one that goes to him and I said, this tree doesn't look too healthy.
And are you a certified arborist?
No, I
Okay,
didn't.
all right, we're going, all right,
Yeah,
we're gonna go to the next agenda, and we're gonna keep it at the next agenda item, we're not gonna add it.
Thank you.
The next agenda item is,
But can
There's no action taken on the agenda.
can I respond to some of these comments that are on here?
no, thank you, Kristen.
But I'm not paying attention to them.
Discussion and action regarding tree removal notification practice, whose agenda item is
That was mine, that was mine.
Okay,
I'd like to ask the tree commission a couple questions about the
now you're
process.
going to talk about your agenda item, George.
Yes, that's what it is. This is discussion action, tree removal.
What is your issue, and then,
Okay,
okay,
so notification, I wanted to ask some issues, asking questions about notification. Okay,
why haven't you, have you gone to the tree commission and asked them?
no,
Why are you bringing this up at a council meeting?
well, because I wanted to have the council evaluate the need for discussion and action.
Don't you think it would have been more fruitful for you or any other member of whoever you're representing to go direct? Let me finish. Sure, sir. To go directly to the tree commission and discuss any concerns you have, as opposed to bringing this to the table at a town council meeting? Don't you think that would have been simple?
thought that it would be fruitful to bring it up at town council.
Okay,
I'm sorry if you disagree.
I totally disagree,
Well,
because it should never have risen to the level of town council.
Well,
Thank you.
may I raise my
May I ask a
concerns at
question?
this time?
May I ask a
Since
question?
Roberta-
Yes,
George,
No.
you have the floor.
yes, and Mama has may I have the floor after him, please.
Okay, so on the floor here, I have concerns about the notification of adjoining neighbors as required by both town ordinance and by state law. We have state law specific in our town law, our town ordinance is specific, that the adjoining neighbors are to be notified in writing.
George, I want you
2
to
weeks.
put whatever your concern is on the table, okay? I want you to
Yeah.
say, don't get into a dialogue with a member.
Okay, so it's come to my attention that the tree, for example, I'm familiar with the tree that was down in our town park next to town hall here. Was down without proper notification of the adjoining neighbors.
And your remedy is,
My remedy is
I will speak to the tree commission.
well, remedy is just to speak to the tree commission and find out what their records are for notification to comport with state law and local law. If we don't have adequate records and we don't have adequate notification, then I would recommend that we assist the tree commission in developing that record keeping and developing that notification. And until such time, we stop pruning and downing trees.
Okay.
And so I have a motion to that effect.
But didn't you just answer my question by saying that you think it would be better just to go to the tree commission? Did you just say that?
Actually, what I
That's what I thought I heard you say.
What I said is that we should have a motion to work with them. And until such time, that it would be the will of the council, we suspend pruning and suspend dropping trees until we get our proper procedures in order.
Well,
I think that's significant.
I understand what you're proposing, but I am saying this never should have risen to the level of a council. You should have taken this directly to the tree commission.
I'd like to make a motion, sir. I motion that the tree commission suspend all tree removal and pruning activities until such time as it is instructed to resume with full documentation of process in place. And that the funds for, instructed to resume by a vote of the full town council.
Okay, there's a second on the motion.
I'll second it.
We have a discussion on the motion.
Yes,
Dora?
I believe that there is a lot of discussion about the value of volunteerism in this town. The tree commission is an example of the highest for years. The case of the tree coming down on the street is a perfect example. They had a crystal ball and that came out. They couldn't get to. And I feel like this is going to lead to a hostile environment for volunteers who come forth. And I want to thank the tree commission for their efforts because they have been doing this less than thanklessly for many years. That's what I have to say.
Any other discussion, Roberta?
Yes, and I don't understand why members of this council seem to be punishing the new members of this council for putting forward items.
Order,
Excuse me.
mischaracterization, personal attacks.
Excuse me, I'm gonna stand up and I'm gonna address this council. Because these new members of this council are doing what the constituents asked us to do. And we are bringing forward information that we have received complaints on, that we are acting on in good faith. And we presented these items for items, agenda item requests. And if you thought for any second that they were out of line, then you should have contacted the town council member prior to this meeting, instead of making us feel embarrassed, making us feel that we are rejected, and making us feel that we are out of line. I do not appreciate the line and the dictating to us that we're bringing forward, trying to get the town's work done. I commend every commission that we have
and every volunteer that we have, and I support them. All I need is to make sure that they're doing what they're supposed to be doing for the town ordinance. And we are trying to get that information out to the public that they are doing it right. Or if they're not doing it right, they need to be tweaked, just like the ordinance for the special events needs to be tweaked. The town council tree committee needs to be tweaked. So I'm sorry. I'm sorry.
I'm gonna ask you to bring this to a conclusion, Roberta.
I'm sorry, but I feel that some of the members on this town council are being hostile to myself and other members who have brought their legitimate agenda item requests forward. We are not trying to create anything that's hostile in this town. I am trying to get rid of the hostility in this town. Oh, and I want your opinion that our information that we're trying to get across
Roberta.
and out to the public as hostile to be stricken from the record.
Roberta, thank you. I have been addressed. I would like to point out that at no point did I make any characterization of anybody at this moment. I was addressed and accused. I stand by my words about the value of the tree commission. And I believe that everybody in this council is working in what they believe is best for the.
That, back to the motion on the floor, could we consider amending it to, rather than continue operations that the tree committee bring back to the next meeting, a plan and address your concerns without having to affect their current operations? Might be the middle ground that we could move forward with.
I would agree to withdraw my motion if the chair would agree to let me rephrase it.
I want to get, before I address that, George, Chris had a comment.
Yes, I wanted to first say I don't think anyone has been personally attacked on this at this meeting. But I do think that that members have been, yeah, I will say disrespectful by bringing things to this meeting prior to talking to tree commission members to I think going to the volunteers first is the way to treat people with respect.
And I
also want to say that suspending any pruning on our trees, I think that we were shown over this past week what some of the implications of that could be. I think we need to continue the work that the arborists have recommended and that we have the money to do.
Thank you, Nina.
So just to clarify, it was my decision to put every item on the agenda, because I felt like that was the best way that we were going to have transparency and have it be an open conversation about, how to move forward and how to handle things, because there are new people on the council and just unanimously rejecting items because maybe there's a procedural issue, felt unfair, and I felt like it was best in our best interest to have everything out in the open so we could discuss how we want to handle items. A little uncomfortable with the idea that what I thought was a suggestion in good faith was being taken as some sort of personal attack. Because really it was just meant to put everything out in the open instead of just rejecting items and then having them not understand the proper procedure and then having the same item submitted the next month and going through that cycle, because we need to accomplish things. And that means kind of having an open discussion about how we can proceed forward with everything. So that was my intention with allowing all the items for info.
Roberta, I'm going to recognize you with a caveat, and that is, if you're going to have it further discussed, you're not going to discuss things that you previously discussed. This is a new discussion item, I'll recognize it. If not, I'm going to move on.
I'm not here to insult anyone.
Pardon?
I would not here to insult anyone. And not knowing the protocols. Okay, again, you said yourself, we're new members. And if there was a protocol set up for us to go talk to the commission first, then we should have been ready.
Oh, to me, okay, I understand that, Roberta. I don't have a problem with that, but to me, it just makes common sense. You don't always take things to the highest level. You try to get issues resolved at the lowest possible level. Coming to the town council is not doing the proper way to arrive at a solution to an issue. You just don't go right to the top. I mean, if that was the case, I would be going to Jim Justice every time I have an issue. But I don't. I try to get it resolved at a level that is commensurate with the issue. And in my opinion, this level rises between a meeting between George and the tree with the tree commission, not bringing it forward to the town council. That's just, I mean, we'll be inundated with things, little things. I'm not saying this is a little thing, but we don't want to be inundated with one thing after the other. I mean, we've got commissions and committees and ad hocs and standing committees that should be dealing with these things. Nina.
Also, just to clarify, so the first conversation maybe should happen within that, but if you're not getting the response that you need, if you're not able to schedule a meeting, if you're not able to meet up with whoever you need to, then it comes to town council to then become a larger discussion about setting up a scheduled meeting.
Right.
And I think that that's probably the proper way to handle it, is first approach the organization, and if that doesn't work, then it comes to council.
All right, so we have a motion on the floor. We have a second. We've gone through discussion. I'm going to call for a vote. All those in favor of the motion?
Repeat the motion, please.
Point of clarification, I offered to withdraw that motion with the proviso that I could rephrase it in as Zach suggested, a more middle ground. May I do so at this time?
I won't be here at that meeting.
Pardon me, sir. May I do so at this time?
Feel free.
Sure, I motion that the tree commission.
I'm going to withdraw the other motion.
Precisely, I've already done so. I motion that the town council request the tree commission provide its documentation of notification for tree removal.
Can I ask what that means?
Christie.
What does that mean?
Christie, you're out of order. You're out of order. Let me conduct the business of the company.
At the next town council meeting. Thank you.
All right, restate the motion, George, because I'm not following it.
Okay. I make a motion that the town council request the tree commission provide full documentation of its notification for tree removal at the next town council meeting.
So make sure I understand. You want to make sure, you want from the tree commission a document from them saying what their tree removal policy is that right?
No. I said notification,
What their notification policy is.
well, no, what the documentation of their notification.
The history of notifications and the policy, I think it's how to write it.
And that's what you want from them.
Yeah,
Why don't you ask them for that?
well, I've made this motion before council, sir, with all due respect, and
Okay, I'm gonna say the same thing in discussion. You're a second on that motion?
I'll second.
Okay, now discussion. Why don't you just ask them directly, George? Tell me why that's not a good idea. Roberta, I'm on George.
sir, it would be extremely difficult. And I don't want to get further into that because I don't want to discuss. personally.
Okay, so it's difficult to go to the tree committee? Tree commission?
Sir, I'm gonna stand by this statement. That would be extremely difficult, and I feel that this would be an adequate way to accomplish that necessary goal.
Okay, Nina?
Thank
To
you.
resolve this, how about I reach out to the tree commission, I request that, if they don't provide it prior to the meeting, then I will put that on the agenda, that we formally request that they provide the documentation. I'll reach out to the chair and see if we can get that documentation, if we cannot get it, then we'll make a formal request that it be provided within a certain amount of time, otherwise action defaults to the council to handle the matter from that point.
George?
I have a motion with the second, and I'd like to call for a vote.
Okay, is there other discussion other than Nina? Roberta?
And I know that, George has asked the tree commission, for this information before, and I know, a couple of people have asked, why did the tree get cut down? What's your backup data? We've gone to the tree commission and we've asked questions, we don't get answers.
I just, I mean, I'm not doubting what you're saying, Roberta, but I find that really hard to believe that we have a town commission or committee refusing to give public information. I just find that hard to believe, but maybe it did happen. Any other discussion? All those in favor of the motion, raise your hand. Opposed? Motion fails. Nina, I'm going to ask you to follow up with Tyler Mayhew.
Okay.
Tyler Mayhew, okay? Open action regarding invasive species, who got this?
I'll make it quick. I asked this to be put in on the agenda, last month and it's on this month, so to evaluate the work of the tree commission and committee. Recommend action on invasive species and removal of invasive species infestation. Request report of tree commission and committee to seize any and all tree trimming, tree removal, tree felling, tree cutting for a period of time to address major concern affecting our urban forest canopy, and report is received from the committee and commission, the town council. The reason I put this on the agenda again is because you, Mayor, on 1/17/2023, at the meeting, you asked for a reevaluation of this very thing. You wanted the tree, the ivy species to be tackled. You asked for how can we get this done? You asked for grants to be thought. I actually have 2 grants, and I wish Christy was here. 2 grants out there that we can go get, and that's the good news I had. And I was willing to work with Christy to get the money to do this. And because people have shown to her that I might be hostile against her, she's probably not willing to work with me. So I dropped my any request to handle this right now. I'll see how I can handle it with Christy 101 or with Tyler Mayhew is probably the proper person. So thank you for putting it on the agenda, and I don't require that.
All right, let's go into ORC. And we're gonna go through these quickly.
If you would rather may postpone it till the next meeting, I can do that and save time. So I can do that.
You're willing to postpone the entire, wherever we are, little Roman numeral 1 through 7? All those items?
Not really, but I'll be cooperative and do that.
So one,
Okay, great.
all right, put a motion on that.
I'd like to make a motion to postpone. Sorry, this is my report and my, okay.
Go ahead.
I'd like to make a motion to postpone. Agenda items K1, K2, K3, K4. Sorry, I'll strike K4. Let me repeat this. I'll make a motion to postpone items K1, K2, K3, K5, K7 to be placed on next month's agenda for the town council regular meeting.
Second on the motion. Discussion on the motion. All those in favor of the motion? Raise your hand. So what are we leaving, Roberta?
I left you to talk about K4.
Six. Mr. Mayor,
K6 here to talk about.
I have a request, not really weekend item.
What's that, George?
I'd like permission for a 2-minute recess for use of the restroom.
Debate on that.
Yeah, 2 minutes, quickly.
Thank you very much, sir.
I also thank my fellow council members for that.
We moved that up and discussed it. Yeah. Where's.
She's 11:46.
We moved 6 up.
We've
already covered it. Yes.
Different things, and I think.
It seems, I think from understand the learn more. It might have to be a large discussion potentially inside.
That's what I'm suggesting. That's what I'm saying.
It's too large of a discussion.
It's just. You
can't have that in a conversation like that. The first week of September, actually, or first and second, that's the, I had a review before the, so I think that'd be possible. From a research station, but we'll have internet. So with all of these in family.
And that's taking time.
People don't know that something called, you know, and if you especially independent quality to the Senate. It's actually a semicolon may be used to separate independent.
It's more like all the conferences that are to be in the past.
Yeah, I'm trying to.
Okay, we're resuming. We are on agenda. Discussion action regarding reorganization of the parking committee, ad hoc committees and working groups under the planning commission. Whose agenda item was that?
I believe it was mine.
Okay.
I would like to defer to Roberta for some information on that. I would like to address one part of concern here, and that is that we have a great number of ad hocs, and standing, working groups. And I'm using working group as a loose sort of term for things that fall in between, that have been created in some cases over years. In one case, it's existed since 2017. That have gone on. In some cases, they're no longer relevant or they're merely dormant. And what I've noticed is that in Robert's rules, which the state wanted to adhere to, those typically committees end, they sunset with a political administration. So what I thought to do here as part of this, and I'm going to defer for the other part of it, is to take this collection of these and sunset them this evening. As they say they should have been done so on June 30th of this year. And then immediately restart them with terms to expire at the end of this political term in June 30th, 2025. And this is part of a general effort. The number of us are going here on office and also on ordinance committee to try and make better laws, to provide order to our town processes. Also, I'm going to want to include an invitation to all people who are currently taking part in these to please show letters of interest and or show interest in the proper way so that we can keep this work going.
Okay,
That's
you prepared to
the-
make a motion, George?
So I'm prepared to make a motion after I defer to Roberta here to talk about another part of this, and that is putting them under the planning commission. She's on planning commission. Roberta, I'd like to yield the floor to you with the chair's permission.
Okay, yes, and basically, the reason we're putting it under the planning commission or feel it's the best place for some of these committees is under the planning commission, because according to part 1, article 133, section 133.01, the planning commission is responsible to promote the orderly development of the town and its environments. And a lot of these committees touch those elements. For instance, parking committee, the stormwater committee, sidewalk committee, working group, or the street lighting committee working group, and the signage and wayfinding working group. And we're gonna put a disclaimer out there because we don't even know how many working groups are out there, how many things are out there, and maybe some of them are part of the Convention and Visitors Bureau. And we don't know what you guys are doing. We don't know, you need to come and talk to us and then tell us what you're doing. So it's encouraging these groups or these people who are already volunteering to come out of these groups, to work with the planning commission. Let's get it all in the comprehensive plan update. Let's get that document sparkling, and let's get all these things that we need to put forward in the comprehensive plan, because technically, if it's not in the comprehensive plan, you cannot do it. And that is comprehensive plan law. So we need to get a lot of this stuff that maybe everybody's working on out there, in and under the update of the comprehensive plan. Yield that to.
All right, thank
And
you.
so I have a motion at this time. And I'll read this slowly because it's lengthy. But that's the nature of the beast. A motion that, comma, effective immediately. The parking and dark sky committees and the stormwater, sidewalk, street lighting, ADA compliance, signage and wayfare committees / working groups be placed by the town council under the authority and direction of the planning commission. Semicolon. Okay. And that the terms of these committees and working groups, all of which ended June 30th, 2023, shall start new terms immediately. And that their former members, along with all interested parties, may apply to the town council for the positions on these immediately, with the new terms to end July 30th, 2025.
Is there a second on the motion?
Need to amend that. his wayfair needs to be stricken and the word wayfinding needs to be inserted.
Thank you.
And I
Second
second,
on the
I
motion,
second.
discussion on the motion, Zach, and then Storm.
Maybe potentially preempting some of the discussion, in accordance with what we've discussed earlier in this meeting, it might be beneficial, to at least for the first half of this motion, bring it to planning and then bring it back to town council, just so that because it sounds like it has merit, but it might warrant further discussion with members of the planning commission before we assign that to them. The second part of the motion, though, I don't think applies to planning commission. We could, I have no problem. After your semicolon, I think that's still more purview of the town council.
Thank you, Zach. Storm, and then Nina.
Yeah, the reading of Roberts is incorrect. So I'll read from Roberts 5010 and also from 5029. The special ad hoc committee is a committee appointed as may arise to carry out a specified task, the completion of which, that is, on presentation of its final report to the assembly, it automatically ceases to exist. And then 5029. Bear with me. Well, it states that when a committee members' terms and the committee does not end with it. It's under committee reports. So it's still at the pleasure of town council if they wish to dissolve the committee. These have not been established previously. But I would say that this motion is constructed, is out of order.
Thank you, Storm, Nina.
Just more of a request that if this is going to go to planning in any form, that by the next meeting, September, there needs to be an organizational plan for how to move forward, because I think dismantling any sort of working groups or ad hoc committees without a really clear plan immediately forward, what the next step would be within a very immediate time frame for how to reassemble them and assume those responsibilities within planning, would be potentially an issue. So just a thorough plan from planning if they are going to take on the responsibility for what the next steps are.
Chris, you had your hand up?
Yeah, well. I think the idea of asking all the town volunteers to resign and submit new letters of offering to work with the town is not wise to do. But I also have grave concerns about adding this huge list to the planning commission. I know over the past 2 years, how the planning commission has, I feel, accomplished quite a bit, but expecting it to supervise a long list of committees may not be fruitful, in my opinion.
Any other discussion, George?
Yes, in light of the concerns of Chris and of Zach. And pardon my sundowners, but my motion did not call for these things at the end. These are groups to end. I would like to withdraw that motion and then amend it in a shorter version and a simpler one that comports to all concerns of all three of you. With your permission, with the permission of the chair. May I do so at this time? Sure. I motion that the terms of these committees and working groups. Double dash, parking, comma, dark skies, comma. Stormwater, comma, sidewalk. Comma, street lighting. Comma, ADA compliance, comma, signage and wayfinding. All of which the terms of the members of these working groups, pardon me, yes. All of which ended on June 30th, 2023. They'll start new terms immediately, and that the former members, along with all interested parties, may apply to the town council for positions on these immediately, with new terms to end on June 30th, 2025. That gives Zachary's planning commission room to discuss. As Storm mentions, it creates less logjam for committees. And as Chris, part of your concern was that we create chaos with these things and have to have lots of special, I think it was Nina mentioned, we'd have to have lots of special meetings to figure out what these would look like.
Okay, is there a second on the amendment?
I'll second.
Is there discussion on the amendment?
Yes, so the new motion.
Yeah, so it's at the town council's pleasure to structure things as it likes. However, I feel it's improper to move these from what is effectively executive functioning to legislating. I think that the interpretation of the planning commission's mission is overbroad. That it does do what it states, but by means of planning. And if you look at the state ordinance or state code and pretty much any other planning commission, certainly at the scale, that its function is not to execute. And it has to do, I believe, with the separation of duties, the separation of powers. That you do not have the same body that is constituting the rules and setting them up, also the body that is executing it. The state, it is typically the mayor, the executive, that would be in charge of that and how these were constructed. Again, the body can do what it pleases. However, the more you start deviating from the practices in the state and municipalities at the scale in West Virginia, the odder it looks and the more questions can be asked.
Any other discussion? River.
Yes, I'd like to enter two things in the record. Robert's Rule of Order 50-30 regarding a special committee. These things are actually called special committees. A special committee expires with the body that appointed it. It does not report. If it does not report, its life expires with that of the body to which it was to report. Secondly, the planning commission is advisory. Planning commission is not setting laws and rules. So these committees, which involve the boundaries of this town, the environs of this town, the things that planning should be paying attention to, are purviews of the planning commission. Planning commission will bring the recommendations of these committees to the town council to set the law. The planning commission is not setting the law.
Okay.
Thank you.
Any other discussion? All right, we're gonna vote on the amendment. All those in favor of the amendment, raise your hand. Opposed? Amendment fails. Main motion, all those in favor of the main motion, raise your hand. Opposed? Main motion fails. Next agenda item. Where are we, Zach? We're unfinished business?
Yes.
Okay. All right, street light, is that yours, Sean?
Presently. As you noted in the report and have it in front of me, there's no action. If it's the pleasure of this council, I'm happy to go through it and answer questions. Otherwise, it's going to be the next month and same goes for stormwater.
Okay. Any objection to that, council? All right, so thank you. New business, discussion action on developing and adopting specific procedure for nominating. All right, here's the issue now. Back if you take one of these and pass it down. This is when I read the planning commission lengthy instruction on how to select a candidate and nominate a candidate. What you have before you are the taken out of our code. These very detailed explanations on how we are to nominate and select candidates. We need to, that this issue that we did with the planning commission earlier, about 8 hours ago. We don't want that on another council. So I am suggesting that the ORC take up as soon as possible a task to come up with some very specific procedures, and George went through, you know, a good annotation of those before we went into the planning commission nominating process. That the ORC comes up with some very, very specific procedures on how we nominate and how we confirm candidates for all of these bodies. To me, it seems like a simple thing. We can come up with one set and we apply it to all of them. What we don't, and what you have to think about, Roberta, as you're going through this worst case scenario, is that you have one opening, one vacancy, and you have 5 applicants, or 6 applicants, or 7 applicants. What is the specific process to nominate? What is the specific process to actually make the selection? What are all the steps? What are we supposed to do? We don't want to be placed in a position that we were earlier. And this is not, I don't think that's something that we need to attend to. So I'm asking, I'm not going to put it in motion, I'm asking, I think personally that this is an ideal issue for ORC to come up with and resolve an apparent flaw in all of our parks and commissions and bodies, and library board and tree commissions and this, that, and the other. Right.
Yes, I believe it's not had this as an agenda item request, per your discussion with me under my ORC report, but since we postponed it the next month. But it's my understanding that, if you want the ORC to do something, the governing body has to tell the ORC to do something. So if there's a motion on the floor from this governing body to tell the ORC to do this, I'll certainly accept that as the ORC chair.
I'm pointing out to this council that there is an issue, okay?
Well, I can make a motion if nobody wants to.
Chris, did you? Excuse me.
Yeah, I'll make a motion.
Oh, I'm sorry, Robert.
To refer to the ORC committee to develop a draft ordinance, to develop specific procedures to nominate and confirm appointments to the Board of Zoning Appeals, Historic Landmarks Commission, Planning Commission, Parks and Recreation Commission, and the Library Board.
You want water and tree on there?
Good idea, yeah, and Water Commission and Tree Commission.
I second that.
Any discussion on the motion? All in favor of the motion? 7 0, thank you. All roll. Okay, we've got Nina, you gonna handle?
Yeah, I sent an email out to everyone today. We are gonna be adopting Microsoft Teams as our way of communicating. Just kind of streamline everything, so we're not losing emails, we're not losing documents. So I will be hosting a series of workshops to teach anyone who's interested in how to use Microsoft Teams, since Zach has a comment. But ideally, we would be using the calendar function so that we can keep track of meetings. And the nice thing about Teams is that it is housed within the government organization that provides us with our email addresses. So all of that, all the conversations and everything that happens within the Teams application is can be requested for public records. So it's above the board in that sense. And we can arrange as well for different committees and commissions to have their own Teams channels, so we can share documents and things like that within those individual channels. So it's a lot easier to find documentation that they're looking for. So I did send out an email with a few different dates. I'm hoping to host 2 different workshops, so everyone on the council could send me their availability. And also I sent it to I think Patty, I think I CC'd you on that as well, for Alyssa. And then hoping to start with one group and then extend that out to the different committees and commissions as well to do the workshop, so hopefully we can get everyone on board. and utilizing it. It's a pretty neat tool. It doesn't cost us anything. It's already included in our services with, Outlook. Liz and I have been using it to organize meetings. So that's, hopefully gonna happen in the next couple of weeks if everyone's schedules permit. Start doing that.
I had a question about it, Nina. It sounds exciting. What my question is, how will this interact with our email system? What's going to be taken over?
Yeah, so they sync. So if you have an event that is created within your Outlook calendar, it syncs with your teams. If you don't check your teams for long enough, it will send you an email and say, hey, people have been trying to reach out to you and can't reach out to you. I think we can still provide an email with all the summary of the documents and everything prior to a meeting. But it'll eliminate sort of this chain we sometimes get going in, where one person replies all, and one person only replies to one person, and then a document gets attached, but then it only gets attached to one person's communication. So it makes it a little bit easier for us to kind of track everything that's going on.
And then Zach. I'll just throw in and say, I'm really excited about this. Once Nina explains it, I think everyone will grip it well. But we've been using a similar platform for a very long time. It cuts back on all the chitter chatter and keeping track of conversations, and culturally, you'll kind of learn that there are things that are done on this platform in these little groups. Of course, we also need to be mindful of the law and not breaching Open Meetings Act. But then some things rise to the more formal, and we do need to send an email. But I think everybody's really going to appreciate the platform once we adopt it. The whole town follows well. I hope. Thank you, Storm. Zach.
Sounds exciting. We use Teams regularly for a couple different organizations. The only two like mildly yellow flags I might raise is that it can be difficult to integrate, like if you're sharing files and things with people outside your organization, but email bridges that gap pretty smoothly, so we will still have to use both at times. And the other is that in the past, I know that you know, emails and correspondence with the town council has been requested via the Freedom of Information Act.
Yeah.
So we still have to, even within the Teams architecture, to make sure that we are, you know, creating a library of histories and.
Yeah, so the administrator, like the owner of our teams, which is the third party that kind of manages our government website, has access to all of our teams logs. So those can be requested from the information. Yeah, I looked into that because I was like, but I know that like my organization, for example, has a record of everything we use Teams, so.
As a bonus, it also makes it very easy to join a meeting virtually if that's the route we're going. So,
Yeah.
you know, if someone's not able to attend in person. They can
It's
hop on their meeting. Yeah.
I guess I have one comment, and I'm commenting on something I don't know much about, but I relate them to Google Documents, which in some of the nonprofits I'm involved in, get passed back and forth, and people have input and output, and I just think we need to be very careful. That this should not be used for deliberation.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's meant for more organizing.
Yes.
That's the intention, is that we use it as an organizing tool, so that we are all on the same page when we show up at a meeting, and everyone has access to all the documents.
Yeah, it sounds great. I'm anxious to learn more about it.
Yeah.
All right, I'll move on. Last two items. Wayne sent an email or sent something about repaving East Ridge Street. I don't doubt that probably needs repaving, but probably so does Gilmore and Fillmore, and Jackson and Henry Clay, and the whole list goes on. So where does that leave us? I believe that we're looking at town assets. Land is a town asset that we own. And the organization, I think, that may best want to look at this, Zach, is planning now. So how do you do this? Well, maybe what we ought to do is bring in a contract engineer and do an inventory of all our streets, not just East Ridge. That's a suggestion I have. I just think that we need to find a home for something like this. I mean, I don't have the expertise to go out and analyze the status of all of our roads. Surely there's got to be somebody in there that we can bring in to satisfy a definite need that we have. And that's just something I'm just, pondering here. And I know Roberta's got her hand up, but she agrees with. Go ahead, Roberta.
I agree that you go to the planning commission, very much so. But I'm gonna save you some money. I think the planning commission can put together a team
That's fine.
themselves to come up with a master paving plan, master street plan over time. Okay, and then the consultant might be called in to say, this is our phasing of our streets, priority 1 through 29. Now, please give us some cost of that. So I think the planning commission come up with the priority of the master plan, and then we invite the.
That's fine. I'll leave that, all those details to Zach, if in fact that's the direction we want to go. Storm and then Chris.
It may be premature, like after the comprehensive plan is done, to do a capital improvement plan, so things, stormwater, streets and the rest, that, now, depending on the timeline, sure, we can engage and do, maybe it's a triage, but to do something that is definitive, well, we don't know necessarily what the streets are gonna be this property.
Real quick, Roberta.
The street master plan, how it's going to be taken care of, can be part of that new comprehensive plan update. That's exactly what you should do. The beautiful stormwater plan that you're working on now was a comprehensive plan item that says we want a stormwater master plan. So if we want a street master plan for paving and maintenance in it, then boom, let's get that item in the comprehensive plan. And yes, and now it's an item in the comprehensive plan, and then it becomes the capital improvement thing. That's how it works. That's how-
Chris.
Yeah, I think the idea of sending the, having planning commission look at the whole town's streets is a good idea. I also think we need to, consider the elephant in the room that come fall, there may be some really major trucks rolling along East Ridge Street, and it may not be very smart to spend money on that right now. I walked it this morning, and yes, there are some potholes, but it also, both ends of it are dead ends, and we don't have a lot of residents or traffic on it.
Well, those are things that I think the planning commission can all take into consideration. So, I mean, let's, I don't know if you all want to put a motion on the floor or panic, or Zach, just pick it up yourself and run with it.
Happy to put that on the next slide.
Okay.
I'll make an official motion to that effect.
Okay, go ahead.
So we're gonna be proper here.
Go ahead.
Have a discussion and action, so let's go ahead and make the take action. I'd like to make a motion that the planning commission, take up the evaluation of the streets and the paving and come up with a master plan to be implemented and sent to the.
Okay, that's good. Second, from strong discussion on my, all those favor of the motion. There you go, second. Okay, last item, I'm not sure I understand what it's saying, but I'm going to take Larry Waters. I think I would go down there. I think it's a matter of just putting a little indicator on the chain thing that's got a yellow chain that's down there. It does say no parking.
I can speak to it, I see it.
Yeah.
I do agree that it needs to be improved. I see people come down the street and they perceive it to be a dead end and they turn back.
Right.
So, I mean, ultimately, something that, we ultimately would be able to, if we have the Armory Canal Trail, if it were improved in a way that people could actually transit through, against that, be able to talk to the CSX.
Right. And I think that the signage, improved signage down there is part of the Army Trail initiative anyway.
It's a great idea.
But I will talk with Larry and we'll get something up down there, take care of that. George, your question.
The chain across there, how did that get there?
Larry put that up because what people were doing. Tourists were going in there and they were parking on both sides of the street all the way up to the railroad track.
Okay,
And then they would try to back out, and somebody was behind them, and then it just created this. So we put it right there at the turnaround, so the cars wouldn't go up there and park.
Okay, and he was authorized by yourself?
By me.
Okay, very good. Do we need a motion to put up that friendly sign?
I'll take care of it.
Very good.
All right, so now we do need a motion on. The last thing.
I have one quick
Oh, I'm
comment
sorry, go ahead,
about
Simon.
Plymouth Street in general. This is not. Stop me if you think this is not super germane. But access to Plymouth Street has been closed for a while. We are about to face a rather unprecedented time where Route 340 is going to be partially closed. I just want everyone to have in their head the idea that in the event of some sort of accident or emergency that does happen at the traffic light on 340, Potomac Street is the only other street in and out of town. So given that 340 is about to be closed, we should just be prepared to, in the event of emergency, open up Potomac Street.
That was part of the discussion when we discussed during Armory Canal Trails as being an emergency.
Good point.
Okay, want to make sure we're on the same page.
Does somebody want to handle the last agenda?
I make a motion to adjourn.
Second.
All in favor?
Third.
We made it.